The RedBook by Carl Jung. This is a book that captures the imagination of all who read it. Jung was a world-renowned psychologist and is considered one of the founders of analytical psychology. But even if you have never heard of Jung, if you open the RedBook to a random page and point your finger, you are guaranteed to discover a passage at your fingertip that will mystify, amuse, or inspire you. This is the strange aura of this book, and it is made all the more mysterious the more you learn about it. For instance, the RedBook was kept as a closely guarded secret for over 100 years. Jung published countless books and essays on the subject of analytical psychology in his lifetime, but never published the RedBook. And when Jung died in 1961, it was locked up in his family vault, leading many in the field to theorize that the contents of the book must be so wild that they would prove Carl Jung, the world-renowned founder of analytical psychology, was actually insane. So the RedBook was only allowed to be viewed by the most esteemed psychologists, under rare permission from his estate to open its infamous pages, and it stayed this way for decades. Jung would occasionally mention the book during his life and lectures, saying, to the superficial observer, it will appear like madness.
Like Hyper-Sanity.
It remained in the darkness of that family vault until only very recently, when in 2009, the C.G. Jung Institute of New York offers a postgraduate clinical training program that prepares its students for a professional practice as a Jungian psychoanalyst and membership within a worldwide community. This is an ancient religious manuscript, maybe a work of medieval
Sounds like
literature
Gnosticism
from 1,000 years ago. This is no ordinary book. Side note, do yourself a favor and visit archive.org. That's ARCHIVE.org, and search Carl Jung, the Red Book. That's Jung spelled J-U-N-G. They have a wonderful, high-resolution scanned copy of it, but you must flip through these pages and see it for yourself. Go full screen, really zoom in on stuff. That's archive.org. Now, back to the show. So, what is the RedBook trying to transmit? With its handwritten calligraphy and carefully crafted...
Is that like a dragon? That looks Whoa, it's got a lion? And like what? That would be like Sophia?
paintings.
This is basically like Gnosticism.
A religious epic. The
Yeah,
RedBook
it's like a dragon.
was a personal project that Jung was working on, in which he attempted to record in vivid detail the visionary experiences
Look, a dragon. What the fuck?
he was having during the period between December 1913 and January 1914.
Yeah, it's an actual dragon.
These experiences weren't some pleasant daydreams. They were symptoms of a mental breakdown that Jung was suffering at this point in his life. And the irony, it wasn't lost on him. To be a psychiatrist with his own regular patients, and to be suffering from a near-psychotic episode himself. In the book, Memories, Dreams, Reflections, Jung shares this with us. In order to grasp the fantasies which were stirring in me underground, I knew that I had to let myself plummet down into them, as it were. I felt not only violent resistance to this, but a distinct fear, for I was afraid of losing command of myself and becoming a prey to the fantasies. And as a psychiatrist, I realized only too well what that meant. After prolonged hesitation, however, I saw that there was no other way out. I had to take the chance, had to try to gain power over them, for I realized that if I did not do so, I ran the risk of their gaining power over me. A cogent motive for my making the attempt was the conviction that I could not expect of my patients something I did not dare to do myself. The excuse that a helper stood at their side would not pass muster, for I was well aware that the so-called helper, that is, myself, could not help them unless he knew their fantasy material from his own direct experience, and that at present all he possessed were a few theoretical prejudices of dubious value. This mental break that Jung has in December 1913 seems to have its origins in the year leading up to it. It is around this time that Jung has a dramatic falling out with his mentor, Sigmund Freud. In the field of psychology at the time, Freud was considered untouchable and his theories beyond critique. And it is true that Freud can largely be credited for shining a light into the unconscious of the human brain and revealing new worlds of study. For a time, in that field of psychology, Jung was being considered the heir apparent to Freud, the successor who would carry on Freud's theories. But after years of friendship and respect, Jung could not stay silent any longer. He disagreed with Freud on pivotal positions. He thought Freud was too fixated on sexuality as the cause of all neurosis. He thought Freud too frequently assumed all answers to
Yeah, because
personal
what about
issues
asexual?
stemmed from childhood. Jung also suspected that Freud's concept of the unconscious did not go deep enough and did not reach the depths of the unconscious, only scratched the surface of what Jung called the personal unconscious. And one final element that Jung could not
Our world convention, conscious person.
tolerate about Freud, he was utterly cynical about human nature. Freud had no patience for exploring spiritual matters, or matters of the meaning of life and the human inclination towards symbolism and myth that we see in all world cultures. Jung writes, "When I was working on my book about the libido and approaching the end of the chapter, The Sacrifice, I knew in advance that its publication would cost me my friendship with Freud, for I planned to set down in it my own conception of incest, the decisive transformation of the concept of libido, and various other ideas in which I differed from Freud. To me, incest signified a personal complication only in the rarest cases. Usually incest has a highly religious aspect, for which reason the incest theme plays a decisive part in almost all cosmogonies and in numerous myths. But Freud clung to the literal interpretation of it and could not grasp the spiritual significance of incest as a symbol. I knew that he would never be able to accept any of my ideas on this subject. I spoke with my wife about this and told her of my fears. She attempted to reassure me, for she thought that Freud would magnanimously raise no objections, although he might not accept my views. I myself was convinced that he could not do so. For 2 months, I was unable to touch my pen, so tormented was I by the conflict. Should I keep my thoughts to myself, or should I risk the loss of so important a friendship? At last, I resolved to go ahead with the writing. And it did indeed cost me Freud's friendship. After the very public break with Freud, Jung says all his friends and acquaintances dropped away. His book was declared to be rubbish, and he was labeled a mystic, not a psychologist. Suddenly, the support structure of an entire community seemed to ostracize him. No longer a golden child, he was now forced to venture out into his own conception of psychology, while continuing his own psychiatric practice. Jung goes on. But I had foreseen my isolation and harbored no illusion about the reactions of my so-called friends. That was a point I had thoroughly considered beforehand. I had known that everything was at stake, and that I had to take a stand for my convictions." Unquote. And so it begins to make sense. Through this experience, Jung entered into a liminal state, a place between worlds. He wasn't the person he had studied and trained to be anymore. He lost his colleagues and the social support he had relied on for years. But he wasn't yet the world-renowned psychologist that he would become years later. He was in a state of transition, a point of tremendous potential, but also tremendous upheaval. And as we learn through studying the lives of many of history's great achievers, this kind of dark night of the soul brings with it the potential for a phoenix to rise from the ashes. And this is when the visions started. In Memories, Dreams, Reflections, Jung says, "Toward the autumn of 1913, the pressure I had felt in me seemed to be moving outward, as though there were something in the air. The atmosphere actually seemed to me darker than it had been. It was as though the sense of oppression no longer sprang exclusively from a psychic situation, but from concrete reality. This feeling grew more and more intense. In October, while I was alone on a journey, I was suddenly seized by an overpowering vision. I saw a monstrous flood covering all the northern and low-lying lands between the North Sea and the Alps. When it came up to Switzerland, I saw that the mountains grew higher and higher to protect our country. I realized that a frightful catastrophe was in progress. I saw the mighty yellow waves, the floating rubble of civilization, and the drowned bodies of uncounted thousands. Then the whole sea turned to blood. This vision lasted about 1 hour. I was perplexed and nauseated and ashamed of my weakness. 2 weeks passed. Then the vision recurred, under the same conditions, even more vividly than before, and the blood was more emphasized. An inner voice spoke, "Look at it well. It is wholly real, and it will be so. You cannot doubt it." That winter, someone asked me what I thought were the political prospects of the world in the future. I replied that I had no thoughts on the matter, but that I saw rivers of blood. I asked myself whether these visions pointed to a revolution, but could not really imagine anything of the sort. And so I drew the conclusion that they had to do with me, and decided that I was menaced by a psychosis. The idea of war did not occur to me at all. Soon afterward, in the spring and early summer of 1914, I had a thrice-repeated dream that in the middle of summer, an Arctic cold wave descended and froze the land to ice. I saw, for example, the whole of Lorraine and its canals frozen, and the entire region totally deserted by human beings. All living green things were killed by frost. This dream came in April and May, and for the last time in June 1914. In the third dream, frightful cold had again descended from out of the cosmos. This dream, however, had an unexpected end. There stood a leaf-bearing tree, but without fruit. My tree of life, I thought, whose leaves had been transformed by the effects of the frost into sweet grapes full of healing juices. I plucked the grapes and gave them to a large, waiting crowd. On August 1st, the World War broke out. Now, my task was clear. I had to try to understand what had happened and to what extent my own experience coincided with that of mankind in general. Therefore, my first obligation was to probe the depths of my own psyche. Jung had begun a long process of writing down all of these visions, daydreams, and vivid dreams. He felt like his unconscious was trying to communicate with him, trying to tell him something. His river of blood vision was in October of 1913 and reoccurred in the weeks following. His killing frost dreams were in April, May, and June of 1914. World War I began in July of 1914. Did his unconscious foresee the imminent destruction and loss of countless lives that was coming? Or were the visions a symbolic representation of the inner turmoil that Jung was feeling at this time? He mentions an inner voice telling him, "Look at it well. It is wholly real, and it will be so. You cannot doubt it." What does one make of that? It is with this frame of mind that Jung decides he needs to find out for himself. He needs to find out what is happening in his own mind at this pivotal stage in his life. And this is where the Red Book begins. Part 2. The Descent. Jung devises an ingenious and simple method for communicating with his unconscious. It first involves entering a meditative state. It is known that Jung practiced yoga and was aware of how to alter his body through breathing techniques. He had a scholar's appetite for cultures and myths of the world. On this point, in Memories, Dreams, Reflections, Jung says, "I was frequently so wrought up that I had to do certain yoga exercises in order to hold my emotions in check. But since it was my purpose to know what was going on within myself, I would do these exercises only until I had calmed myself enough to resume my work with the unconscious. As soon as I had the feeling that I was myself again, I abandoned this restraint upon the emotions and allowed the images and inner voices to speak afresh." Unquote. Once Jung had placed himself in a meditative state, perhaps a place bordering the hypnagogic state, he would engage a fantasy of digging a hole, which would go deeper and deeper and even deeper. In the book, Introduction to Jungian Psychology, he says, "For the sake of then trying to achieve the maximum of honesty with myself, I wrote everything down very carefully, following the old Greek mandate, 'Give away all thou possesses, then thou shalt receive.' The writing of this material took me into November 1913, and then I came to an end of it, not knowing what would come next. I thought perhaps more introspection was needed. When we introspect, we look within and see if there is anything to be observed. And if there's nothing, we may either give up the introspective process or find a way of boring through to the material that escapes the first survey. I devised such a boring method by fantasizing that I was digging a hole, and by accepting this fantasy as perfectly real. This is naturally somewhat difficult to do, to believe so thoroughly in a fantasy that it leads you into further fantasy, just as if you were digging a real hole and passing
This is kind of like Neoplatonism and Matrix. Like you take the blue pill and stay in one level of the simulation, or you take the red pill and then you go into another level of the simulation where the red pill is still in a simulation.
Passing from one discovery to another.
Like levels of consciousness, I guess.
But when I began on that hole, I worked and worked so hard that I knew something had to come of it. That fantasy had to produce and lure out other fantasies. Of course, in using a hole, I was using an archetype of considerable power in stimulating the unconscious. For the mystery attached to caves comes down from immemorial.
Yes, caves, exactly Neoplatonism. One thinks at once of the Mithraic cult, one of the catacombs. Well, that gives me something to research. Maybe I should have searched for catacomb. Take the primordial cave where the god Mithras slew the bull. Cosmic symbolism. Cave was viewed as a microcosm of the universe, representing the journey of the soul. Huh. Like it's fascinating. And throughout history, as far as history is like recorded and still preserved, and in different parts around all around the world, there's this idea of a cave and like different levels of consciousness and reality itself, and they all are focused on caves. It's something I've been fascinated by. Celestial cave, new Platonic Academy. What is this? There's the bull, there's the sun and the moon, just like Gnosticism. Often built to resemble caves. Mithras slaying the bull.
Times, one thinks at once of the Mithraic cult, of the catacombs, etc. So the more I worked on this fantasy hole, the more I seemed to descend. Finally, I felt I had come to a place where I could go no further. I said to myself that being the case, I would then go horizontally. And then it seemed as if I were in a corridor, and as though I were wading in black slime.
There's primordial black ooze comes to mind. Like that's something I've heard elsewhere is like this primordial like black oil, but I can't remember what it's supposed to resemble. Whoa, this isn't even an ink. What the fuck? This is literally in another language. What the fuck? What? This is weird. I've never seen the search engine do this. What the fuck? Primordial black holes. What does it say? Primordial black hole. hypothetical black holes that formed soon after the Big Bang. Extremely dense pockets of subatomic matter. Earth's early oceans that led to the origin of life. Yeah, see, this is like basically what he's describing. So he's talking about going to like the deepest layer of his conscious or subconscious, and so the primordial soup, the black ooze, is the origin that is said to led to the origin of life. So the origin is the start. So that could be represented as like the deepest layer of his subconscious, maybe.
Unquote. In the RedBook, there is an entry for December 12th, 1913, which describes one of these visionary meditation sessions with startling results. The entry is entitled Descent into Hell in the Future. Jung writes, in the following night, the air was filled with many voices. A loud voice called, I am falling. Others cried out confused and excited during this. Where to? What do you want? Should I entrust myself to this confusion? I shuddered. It is a dreadful deep. Do you want me to leave myself to chance, to the madness of my own darkness? Whither? Whither? You fall, and I want to fall with you, whoever you are. The spirit of the depths opened my eyes, and I caught a glimpse of the inner things, the world of my soul, the many-formed and changing. I see a gray rock face along which I sink into great depths. A dwarf, clad entirely in leather, stood before it, minding the entrance. I stand in black dirt up to my ankles in a
Black
dark
dirt.
cave.
A cave.
Shadows sweep over me. I am seized by fear, but I know I must go in. I crawl through a narrow crack in the rock and reach an inner cave whose bottom is covered with black water.
Black water.
But
What the
beyond
fuck?
this,
It's
I catch a
crazy.
glimpse of a luminous red stone, which I must reach. It is a six-sided crystal which gives off a cold, reddish light. I wade through the muddy water. The cave is full of the frightful noise of shrieking voices. I take the stone. It covers a dark opening in the rock. I hold the stone in my hand, peering around inquiringly. I do not want to listen to the voices. They keep me away. This dark hole, I want to know where it leads and what it says. An oracle? Is this the place of Pythia? Here, something wants to be uttered. I place my ear to the opening. I hear the flow of underground waters. I see.
That's crazy. Yeah, water. So like this is like basically describing this primordial soup. Um Other building blocks formed in water, eventually leading to the first single-celled organisms. Biofilm-like structures rather than simple liquid soup. That's crazy that he's literally like completely describing primordial black ooze. That's crazy.
The bloody head of a man on the dark stream. Someone wounded, someone slain floats there. I take in this image for a long time, shuddering. I see a large black scarab floating past on the dark stream. In the deepest reach of the stream shines a red sun, radiating through the dark water.
Oh, that's like Gnosis. He's now describing Gnosticism.
There I see, and a terror seizes me. Small serpents on the dark rock walls, driving
Serpents.
towards the depths where the sun shines.
Yeah, that's like Gnosis. It's like Gnosticism. The hidden spark. That's basically the hidden spark. He's describing multiple philosophies and religions.
1,000 serpents crowd around, veiling the sun. Deep night falls. A red stream of blood, thick red blood springs up, surging for a long time, then ebbing. I am seized by fear. What did I see? It seems that this vision left such a deep and strong impression on Jung's mind that it left him in a state of awe. It reaches a point of reverence in the passage of writing that follows. Following the recounting of the vision, he continues, "Heal the wound that doubt inflicts on me, my soul. That too is to be overcome, so that I..."
Supreme meaning. That's literally, this is like literally Gnosticism. No way. Jung entered the shadow network through active imagination, descending into symbolic unconscious material, then attempting to integrate it into the higher self model. Jung called this period his confrontation with the unconscious, and Liber Novus was built from those self experiments. Yeah, the soul trapped in illusion, seeking gnosis through confrontation with hidden reality to return to self, the one.
I can recognize your supreme meaning, how far away everything is, and how I have turned back. My spirit is a spirit of torment. It tears asunder my contemplation. It would dismantle everything and rip it apart. I am still a victim of my thinking. When can I order my thinking to be quiet, so that my thoughts, those unruly hounds, will crawl to my feet? How can I ever hope to hear your voice louder, to see your face clearer when all my thoughts howl. I am stunned, but I want to be stunned, since I have won to you, my soul, to trust
Walk under
you
your
even
sun.
if you lead me through madness. How shall I ever walk under your sun if I do not drink the bitter draught of slumber to the lees? Help me so that I do not choke on my own knowledge. The fullness of my knowledge threatens to fall in on me. My knowledge has 1,000 voices,
Roaring like
an
lions.
army roaring like lions. The air trembles when they speak, and
Prison.
I am their defenseless sacrifice. Keep it far from me.
This is
Silence
very
that
Gnostic
clever
and
knower,
Neoplatonist.
that bad prison master who binds the soul.
An army roaring like lions. Knowledge, gnosis. Keep it far from me. Silence the clever knower. That bad prison master who binds the soul and imprisons it in a lightless cell. That is Gnosticism, dude. Holy shit, this is fascinating. Red. Here it is. Let me see if I can download the book.
And imprisons it in a lightless cell. But above all, protect me from the serpent of judgment, who only appears to be a healing serpent. yet in the depths is infernal poison and agonizing death. I want to go down cleansed. On this episode, we are
Okay, what timestamp is that on? 2914. Delphic Oracle. Jung is not inventing active imagination from nowhere. He sees parallels with Greek mystery traditions, oracles. Yeah, he's reviving older traditions rather than inventing something completely new. This is where Neoplatonism becomes obvious. Jung encounters desire, spirit, mastery, insight, and blindness. He expects good and evil. He finds unity. My wisdom and my daughter are opposites emerge from a deeper union. Okay, let's see here. Why isn't it working? Which one? Oh, this one. This one. Okay, yeah. Some research. Okay. So yeah, the key Delphi mystery religions, Mithraism, Hermeticism, Neoplatonism, Gnosticism, alchemy, and Jung modernizes this project. The structure itself is ancient. It's about psychology more than systemic dissent. Gnosticism. Soul descends into matter illusion, descent from unity into multiplicity, descent into dark matter that goes into the primordial ooze, cave initiation, catacomb, underground temple, false surface self, ego persona, professional identity, archonic identity, trapped in a false world that goes into matrix, lower self bound to appearances, impure metals, unrefined self, social simulation, threshold, cave entrance, crack in rock, oracle hole, boundary between ignorance and gnosis. There's also the dragon, which is Gnosticism as well.
Knowledge. The fullness of my knowledge threatens to fall in on me. My knowledge has 1,000 voices.
Yeah, so like if I go Gnosticism. Yeah, so you got the moon and the sun, just like it was in the video, and then you have the bigger sun, which it represents gnosis. So you have the lion and the serpent. It's literally Gnosticism. Holy shit. So hypostasis, that's right, that goes into hyposanity, literally that which stands beneath. So hypo means lesser, hyper means more. Like you can see this in like hyperglycemic or hypoglycemic or hyperthyroidism or hypothyroidism, known to physics in a reality. So this is like a level of the subconscious hypostasis. Supports all of reality, is not the same concept of some. In Neoplatonism, the hypostasis of the soul, the intellect nous one, is addressed by Plotinus. The Holy Trinity consists of three hypostases, that of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Beneath the surface phenomena, which is like the cave that he used, present themselves to our senses are three higher spiritual principles, each one more sublime than the preceding. Understanding of the writings of Plato, soul, the intellect, and the one. Separated hypostasis, people that hold this effect produce three gods. Stressing is one hypostasis. So yeah, this goes into Gnosticism. There's three demiurges. There's three forms of hypostasis. And like maybe it could also be perceived in like subconscious, like three levels of your subconscious, which explains like why he got to a bottom and then went horizontally in his book. Three personas, or prosper, eventually move saying three. One substance, three persons. Yeah, one substance, three persons. That goes into the demiurge. Oh, no way! A lion-faced serpentine deity found on a Gnostic gem. A Gnostic gem, which is exactly the gem that he's describing. There's Gnosis. See, right here. This is like the gem. No fucking way. The similarities are striking. There are two gods, but rather they're two persons. Is the grace of the Holy Spirit? Yes, gnosis. Face or mask would imply three essences and beings. Tritheism? Oh god, I love learning. This shit's like addictive. Rather than there being a single god, all three eternally consubs persons. This could also be seen as like multiple personalities in one body. Oh, this goes into Gnosticism as well, such as the Macedonians accepted the Son as fully divine, but not the Holy Spirit. That's like the demiurge is like the false god. Oh, here we go. Father, Son, and then Spirit are three distinct minds. So yeah, this is basically in a secular definition. This would be three levels of your subconscious. So I was right. Three implies distinct minds. So you translate mind into like different levels of consciousness, subconscious, maybe like consciousness, subconsciousness, and then a third one, his will is connected indissoluble union with the Father. Yeah, that goes into like the subconscious is attached to the conscious. Three distinct hypostases in the Godhead. They are also identified as a single being. Yeah, three and one. The underlying soul. See that the ego and the soul are seemingly different, as well as the same thing for the ego is not without the soul. Always says what makes these kinds of rocks. Level of presence and creative force that differentiates one oisa from another, like has been said earlier, may be shared by various hypostases or instances. Is not the same as type or part. A hypostasis holds all nature described by its osa. That's like the regular conscious. Your consciousness is and then it's subconsciousness, and then whatever after that. All of them hold the same osa. Yeah, God or the ultimate reality or hypersanity. Interesting. Wow, this is gonna keep me busy for a while. Hidden light, the red sun beneath. So, Vincent mentions gym. Take a picture of this. Where's that gym that I saw? Oh yeah, the gym. So let's see here. Do a cross comparison. Hidden centers discovered through descent. Hidden ruler or cosmic principle. Emits inner light, which is like gnosis. Descent, discovery, and transformation. Maybe that's what it is. Okay, descent, discovery, and transformation. Three levels of hypostasis. Pattern that appears repeatedly across Neoplatonism, Hermeticism, Gnosticism, Jung, and mysticism generally. So like these are the same concept between multiple religions and philosophies. It's the same thing across cultures. Matter, mind, spirit, body, soul, intellect, persona, ego, self. Surface awareness, reflective awareness, and integrated awareness. Like I was saying, like consciousness. Plotinus gives us roughly level one, the many material existence, multiplicity, appearances. Appearance goes into the masks that I was talking about in the Wikipedia, different faces and masks. They could be appearances, nous, intellect, recognition of patterns, higher understanding. Level three, which is the one, unity, source, ground of being. The journey goes from multiplicity, which is like the three levels of hypostasis, maybe nous, and then the one. So this goes back into hypostasis, three, and then one. Okay, it says, yeah, it says right here, hypostasis is the same as that between the general and the particular, as for instance, between the animal and the particular man. Fascinating. So Jungian's version is persona, ego, self. The self is not the ego. The self is the organizing center discovered after the descent. So this could be converted to narrative, investigation, integration, or persona, contradiction analysis to hypersane self. Your idea, ego, will, mind is actually close to several ancient systems, so I was right. You can model it as level one is ego, identity, preferences, defenses, narratives, I am this. And then there's will, the force that moves consciousness, the decision to investigate, the capacity to descend deeper into your subconscious. This is often over the overlooked layer. Most people have awareness. Few have the will to confront contradiction. So this is basically metacognition. The observing faculty, capacity to recognize patterns beyond identity, the capacity to integrate. Interestingly, Jung's cave sequence fits this. At first, the ego is exhausted. He admits he literally defeats his ego in the first part. Then and that's what starts the descent. And then he discovers the mind discovers the crystal. The crystal as hypostasis. If we use Neoplatonic framework, the crystal may not represent the highest hypostasis. It may represent the second, meaning not the one itself, but nous. Because the crystal is structured, geometric, intelligible, and illuminating. Those are classic attributes of the nous. The one is usually beyond form. The crystal has form. Therefore, it represents intellect more than absolute unity. Oh, sweet. Cross comparison. So, yeah, the fallen world is like the illusionary world. This in Matrix, that would be like the blue pill reality simulation. material multiplicity, persona, descent cave, return inward, gnosis quest, investigation. So if anyone's actually watching and is interested, this is gnosis and Gnosticism. That's the sun behind the demiurge. Let's see if there's a picture here. So like if I go to gnosis. So this is gnosis, um, which means knowledge or awareness. So like again, this is why in a lot of different religions and spiritual practices, there'll be like a deity with a sun behind the head that represents gnosis. And in Gnosticism, it means knowledge, wisdom, or intellect. And then that goes back into what I was talking about here, the three: ego, will, mind, often describing the same phenomenological process. Ordinary identity breaks down. This is like how the term ego death, like people talk about the term ego death. Um, Consciousness descends beneath assumptions. A deeper organizing principle is encountered. Person returns transformed. Didn't was it Da Vinci? Yeah, yeah, I remember hearing about this. Leonardo da Vinci also encountered a dark cave in the Tuscan countryside. Fear and desire conflicted in him, but his unstoppable curiosity triumphed, leading him to enter the cavern. Inside, he discovered a fossil whale embedded in the wall, which sparked his lifelong interest in paleontology and geomorphology, triggered a profound existential dread and visions of an apocalyptic deluge. This is literally the exact same thing that he's describing. He had like this apocalyptic like red blood whoa, this is so crazy. There's so many comparisons, like poetic or metaphorical evidence of fossilized sports likely of his real world encounter. Interesting. Uh, yes, that is the same archetypal pattern, and it may be one of the best real world parallels to Jung's cave descent. So you have threshold, fear, desire, descent, discovery, existential shock, and then transformation coming out enlightened or something. The factual basis is plausible but should be phrased carefully. Connection comes from interpretations of passage, Codex Aranual. Scholars have argued that the marine monster may have been a fossil whale, may describe a real encounter with fossil whale, and whether literal, poetic, or both follows the same initiatory descent pattern as Jung's Red Book. Fear blocks the threshold, desire crosses it, and evidence transforms the self. So this is like trying to think what's the term I'm looking for. This is like a form of investigation. Threshold, desire crosses it, evidence transforms the self. So like new evidence transforms the self in the sense that like when you learn something new, you sometimes you discover something new about yourself, and thus like it transforms the self, it like transforms your consciousness. because your consciousness is not necessarily fixed. It's like constantly changing, and you are your experiences. So, like, depending on what happens to you and what you experience, to an extent, can determine your consciousness. Higher order model of reality, existential destabilization. This is the same recursive structure: persona, fear of unknown; investigation, threshold; descent into the cave; the hidden truth, which would be the gem, the cube; existential destabilization; higher order model of reality. It matches empiricism. That's what it matches. It matches empiricism. That's exactly what it matches. From a secular perspective, it matches, yes, empiricism part of it. Pattern fear blocks the threshold, desire crosses it, and evidence transforms the self. It isn't just empiricism, it's closer to epistemic courage, the willingness to investigate despite uncertainty, fear, or possibility of being wrong. That's one of the reasons why a lot of people aren't interested in learning or the truth. uh, they don't like their ego prevents them from being wrong. So that's why, like, cognitive dissonance and Dunning-Kruger and stuff like that basically, like, psychologically exists, is one, ego, pride, and the inability to admit wrong when proven wrong, when science proves them wrong. Leonardo enters the cave, Jung enters the unconscious, Socrates questions assumptions, the empiricist performs the experiment. The common element is that truth is valued more than comfort. Yeah, that's basically it. Truth is valued more than comfort. A simpler word, the archetypal movement is unknown. Investigation, discovery, transformation. This is the foundation. Yeah, this is why I've said it's empiricism. So investigation, discovery, and transformation is empiricism. It's the foundation of science, philosophy, exploration, and hypersanity. Anamnesis, yes, partial match Neoplatonism is a recollection of remembering hidden truth, sort of like Gnosticism, or Gnosis. Leonardo isn't remembering, he's discovering, so it's related but not exact. Ketabasis is probably the strongest mythological term. Literally means a descent into the underworld, which matches Odysseus, Orpheus, Aeneas, Dante, and Jung. Leonardo's cave follows the same structure. You descend into darkness, you encounter something hidden, and you return transformed. If you're looking for the empirical scientific term, epistemic exploration or inquiry under uncertainty. Both captures fear of being wrong, curious, whether you're curious enough to know if you're wrong, which is then leads to investigation, and then through investigation you get evidence. From evidence you are transformed, metaphorically speaking. They've actually discovered one of your own framework primitives: investigative courage, the willingness to cross the investigation threshold despite fear, uncertainty, social pressure, or potential ego death. Yeah, see, look, ego death in pursuit of evidence and truth. That's why I say, like, a lot of people don't aren't interested in actually learning or studying philosophy or science because their ego prevents them from ever being incapable of admitting they're wrong, or the possibility of being wrong. Like, ego is the one hindrance to learning ethics and philosophy. Leonardo entering the cave, Jung descending into the unconscious, leaving Plato's allegory of the cave, questioning one's religion, examining one's biases, and following evidence where it leads. So, this is again empiricism. Notice how all of these share the same structure: fear, curiosity, investigation, evidence, transformation. The structure appears in mythology, philosophy, science, psychology, and my hypersanity framework. It may be one of the deeper, reoccurring human patterns underlying all of them. Interesting.
Serpents crowd around, veiling the sun. Deep night.
Yeah, and see how there's serpents and the sun, that's literally Gnosticism. So you got the serpents right here. And you get the sun. He also had a dragon, so the demiurge also referred to as like a dragon, Yaldabaoth.
Night falls, and agonizing soccer process. We see that
Oh, hey, that's the divine spark. That's the divine spark in Gnosticism. Man, I've come a long way. I actually understand all this shit. That's crazy.
that clever knower, that bad
Yeah, fullness of my knowledge threatens to fall in on me. My knowledge has 1,000 voices, an army roaring like the lions, and air trembles when they speak, and I am their defenseless sacrifice. Science, that clever knower, that bad prison master who binds the soul and imprisons it in a lightless cell. So this is literally the same thing as Gnosticism and Neoplatonism. Um, so the prison is like the matrix in another word. In other words, like the matrix is a prison for like your mind, and which binds the soul and imprisons it in a lightless cell. A lightless cell is basically the cave, the subconscious.
prison master who binds the soul and imprisons it in a lightless cell. But above all, protect me from the serpent of judgment.
Serpent of judgment, healing serpent. Yet in your depths, the infernal poison and agonizing death. This is ego death. So, like, that's literally describing ego death. Keep seizing whatever I can and feeling restless. This is fascinating. I need this book so bad. I need to buy this. Oh, I wish I could afford it.
Judgment, who only appears to be a healing serpent, yet in the depths is infernal poison and agonizing death. I want to go down cleansed into your depths with white.
Yeah, so see, it's a healing serpent, but then there's the infernal poison and agonizing death. So that literally describes ego death. That's literally ego death.
Garments and not rush in like some thief, seizing whatever I can and fleeing breathlessly. Let me persist in divine astonishment, so that I am ready to behold your wonders. Let me lay my head on a stone before your door.
Receive your light. Light could be perceived as knowledge or enlightenment or gnosis.
So that I am prepared to receive your light. This is no longer the Jung that the world knew from his analytical psychology work. This writing resembles the words of a mad saint or a visionary monk. This reminds me of the mystical poem Dark Night of the Soul from the 1500s by St. John of the Cross. It honestly sounds like a love letter that Jung is writing to his own soul, taking a position of reverence and humility.
Exactly. That's what ego death is. It's humility. It's
This is what makes the Red Book so strange and unique. We are
Well,
watching
it's actually not. Well, it kind of is unique, but at the same time, it's not. Like it mirrors literally like the same story across multiple religions and philosophies. It's the same story, just different names of the things. So it's like the same characters but different names.
the inner workings of a mind struggling through an existential
Yeah,
crisis.
that is the divine spark. So let's see. Yep, divine spark. See, leading to the deliverance of the divine spark within humanity and the constraints of earthly existence. So the divine spark within humanity could be considered within humanity could be considered in your subconscious. So new knowledge in your subconscious. And 2 Peter is referring to an epignosis of Jesus Christ, larger and more thorough knowledge. So larger and more thorough knowledge. This would be like a higher order knowledge. Yeah, it'd be higher order knowledge. Yeah, higher order knowledge.
And through that process, we see that mind reaching spiritual insights and self knowledge, a kind of divine madness.
A
We're
divine madness, literally, like describing like Gnosticism. This is so cool.
witnessing an alchemical process taking place. Jung mentions when the desert
And then we have these look like serpents, maybe
begins to bloom, it brings forth strange
upside down.
plants. You will consider yourself mad.
Yep, here's the dragons again. Consider yourself mad. That's like hypersanity. Yeah, that's the original definition of hypersanity. It looks like Sophia, maybe? Someone slaying the dragon?
And in a certain sense, you will in fact be mad.
Yeah, slaying the dragon, see?
Quote.
You will, in
The
fact, be
footnote on the
mad.
bottom of that page sheds further light on this phenomenon. It is footnote number 89, and it states Socrates distinguished
Divine madness. Hyper-Sanity would refine Plato's divine madness rather than simply accept it. 4 forms of divine madness: mania, prophetic madness, which is he's prophetic hallucination or whatever, ritual madness, poetic madness, and erotic madness. Desire pulling the soul toward beauty and truth. Some forms of madness are superior to ordinary reason. That was Plato's argument. Okay, so yeah, Plato's argument was that some forms of madness are superior to ordinary reason. Superior according to what evidence? History is full of people claiming visions, revelations, prophecies, and divine messages. Many were wrong, some were delusional, some discovered genuine insights. So Hyper-Sanity cannot simply say madness is truth. Jung gets closer. His descent resembles divine madness. He willingly enters visions, dialogues, symbolic encounters, and impossible imagery. Yet he never completely loses observational awareness. He documents it. Fascinating. It's almost like like a form of conscious madness. Interesting. Studies it, reflects it, and analyzes it. This is very different from uncontrolled psychosis. Structured divine recursive divine madness, a liminal state. This goes into what the dude was talking about earlier in the video, a liminal state in which ordinary assumptions are suspended, allowing novel insights, symbolic cognition, and hidden contradictions to emerge while maintaining sufficient self-awareness to critically evaluate the experience. So this is like using philosophy in like an imagination sense, and like you're not saying that all these symbols mean like something is religious or something like that. You're just like theorizing, you're just hypothesizing. You're just using your imagination without like saying that any of it is like real, right? It's just like metaphor, basically like a metaphor. So here are the comparisons. Leonardo was fear, there may be monsters, and then the curiosity, I must know. He enters, the result is he gains geology, paleontology, and a deeper understanding, aka the transformation of self. And then Jung was fear, I may be going insane. The curiosity was I must descend into the cave or whatever. He enters, the result is archetypes, active imagination, and analytical psychology. And Plato was ordinary life is illusion. This is the matrix. And that, like, oh, you're not really, this isn't really reality. It's a simulation of reality. And then the curiosity is what's beyond the cave. The philosopher leaves. The result is philosophy, epistemology, and self knowledge, which goes into sort of like a metacognition. So, ordinary madness is fear, fantasy, belief. Divine madness is fear, exploration, insight. Hypersane divine madness would be fear, exploration, insight, verification, and integration. The added step is verification. What's fascinating is that all the examples you've brought up are Plato's cave, Mithraic cave, Jung's cave, Leonardo's cave, Gnostic descent, and Neoplatonic return. All share the exact same structure: known world, threshold, descent, chaos, hidden light, return, transformation. Crazy. That's what years of studying philosophy will do. You have like such good pattern recognition.
Four types of divine madness. 1. Inspired divination, such as by the prophetess at Delphi. 2. Instances in which individuals, when ancient sins had given rise to troubles, have prophesied and incited to prayer and worship. 3. Possession by the muses, since the technically skilled, untouched by the madness of the muses, will never be a good poet. And 4. The lover. Unquote. In the coming months, Jung struggled to understand this vision of the red crystal and the scarab, and he would retell it in his lectures for many years to come. In the RedBook, he gives us his analysis of the symbols. The following passage was written in autumn of 1914, almost a year after he...
That could also be like the philosopher's stone. That's what that could also be the philosopher's stone in alchemy, which is a stone that allows transformation. And again, like what is like what is the final step in all of these? Transformation. This is basically the Philosopher's Stone. And the more we compare the symbols, the more the red crystal starts looking less like Yaldabaoth and more like a Philosopher's Stone analogy. Not necessarily the Philosopher's Stone in a literal alchemical sense, but structurally it occupies the same position in the journey. Amazing. Prima Materia, Black Water, Chaos Dissolution, Red Crystal is the Philosopher's Stone, Red Sun is Rubedo, Death Imagery is Putrefaction, Scarab is Rebirth, and New Sun is Transformation. The sequence is almost textbook alchemical symbolism. The Philosopher's Stone is often misunderstood. Popular belief is that a magic rock makes gold. However, the esoteric meaning is a completed state produced through transformation. So this is basically another word for like psychology, analytical like psychology and transformation. Like the ego death is a form of transformation. So in alchemy, it's not like a literal transformation in the sense of like a physical transformation. It's more of a metaphorical psychological transformation. So the stone represents integration, ego death, wholeness, illumination, perfected understanding, and union of opposites. Jung himself spent decades studying alchemy because he believed alchemical imagery was a symbolic language of psychic transformation. It's crazy. I'm actually understanding this. This is awesome. The red color is important. Blackness, death, chaos, disintegration. Albedo is whitening, purification, insight. Redness, completion, integration, rebirth. Notice Jung's vision: black cave, black water, black scarab, red crystal, red sun, blood. This is remarkably close to the Rubedo symbolism. The first stable of truth discovered after descending beneath narrative identity. Before the stone, there's confusion, contradiction, fear, and uncertainty. After the stone, there's orientation, structure, meaning, not certainty, structure. Why Leonardo fits two is cave, fear, discovery, and then transformation. And then Jung is cave, fear, crystal, transformation. And then alchemy is that word, stone, rubedo. And then Plato is cave, light, knowledge. And then Neoplatonism is multiplicity, nous, and unity. They're all variations of the same pattern. The red crystal may simultaneously function as philosopher's stone, nous, hidden sun, hermeticism, divine spark from Gnosticism, the self, which is Jung, and then empirical integration, hyper-sanity. Not because these traditions are identical, but because they all needed a symbol for the organizing principle discovered after descending into chaos. That is exactly why Jung encounters the crystal. The crystal sits in the narrative where the philosopher's stone normally sits in alchemy, hidden in darkness, surrounded by death symbolism, ego death, revealed through descent, discovery, and serving as the catalyst for transformation, knowledge.
He first had this vision, and after World War I had erupted. Blood shone at me from the red light of the crystal, and when I picked it up to discover its mystery, there lay the horror uncovered before me. In the depths of what is to come lay murder, the blonde hero slain. The black beetle is the death that is necessary for renewal.
Yep.
And so
Ego
thereafter,
death.
a new sun glowed. The
Yeah,
sun
because after ego death, you're able to learn a higher truth, so to speak, hidden knowledge.
of the depths, full of
And there's the
riddles,
divine
a
spark.
sun of the night. And as the rising sun of spring quickens the dead earth, so the sun of the depths.
Exactly. For transformation, you need death and then rebirth. That's one. analogy, metaphor of transformation is death and rebirth. And that goes again into ego death. And then after the ego death, you're able to learn past the ego into like a real empirical truth.
quickened the dead, and thus began the terrible struggle between light and darkness. Out of that burst the powerful and ever unvanquished source of blood. This was what was to come, which you now experience in your life, and it is even more than that. I had this vision on the night of 12th December 1913. I would not have been able to see what was to come if I could not have seen it in myself. Therefore, I take part in that murder. The sun of the depths also shines in me after the murder has been accomplished. The thousand serpents that want to devour the sun are also in me. I myself am a murderer and
This could be seen as like not just ego death, but killing the old you for a new you. So this could resemble like how when you're a child and then you get older, your young self metaphorically dies to become your adult self. This is like analogous with like losing your childish imagination and giving away childish things for adult things. You're transforming from child to adult.
murdered, sacrificer and sacrificed. The upwelling blood streams out of me. You all have share in the murder. In you, the reborn one will come to be,
Yeah, the reborn one, the new you, so to speak.
and the son of the depths will.
So this probably describes ego death, the pain from the confrontation of setting aside your ego, because essentially, like especially in American culture, like we are like 90% ego, which is why a lot of people don't live by rationality.
Will rise, and 1,000 serpents will develop from your dead matter and fall on the sun to choke it. Your blood will stream forth. The people demonstrate this at the present time in unforgettable acts that will be written with blood in unforgettable books for eternal memory. Jung unmistakably talks like a mystic in these passages. That dreaded term that the colleagues of Freud tried to denigrate him with. The entire Red Book flows like this. There are passages that retell a vision he experienced, followed by prosaic rumination on the subject or a dialogue with his soul, pleading for answers. And all of this is written in an
A
old
dialogue with his subconscious.
calligraphy style with accompanying paintings. What does one make of this? It is certainly more than a journal. It has the spirit of a dramatic, visionary work. What can one even compare it to? They're all
Oh, this is clear. This is hilarious because I've made connections that no one else has. Like I've made these connections that no one has. This guy has no idea. Like this guy doesn't understand that he's describing like six different mythos, six different mythologies and like religious philosophies. That's crazy. So like I did something that like they haven't done. That's crazy.
are no modern
Oh, and this is like the cave, Mithra's cave, the maze with the minotaur or whatever. This is like the maze with the minotaur.
equivalents. This is
D for demiurge.
perhaps why Jung chose to officially call the Red Book by the enigmatic title Liber Novus, Libernovus, which is Latin for the new book. It is a
That's also like Gnosticism that goes into like gnosis, hidden knowledge, new gnosis.
kind of new document, and yet the use of Latin in the title and throughout its text is an acknowledgement that It is something rooted in ancient traditions.
Exactly, it's something rooted in ancient traditions. Everything that I described. I can't. This is amazing. Like, this is actually amazing. I might have made a discovery that no one else has.
Latin is a dead language. There are no countries that speak and write in Latin. There is a moment in the Red Book that Jung's soul tells him that he must bring the dead to life. Perhaps this is part of the fruition of that sentiment.
Yeah, the dead back to life. Latin as a dead language. But he doesn't understand that he's talking about the whole transformation process, the alchemical process.
We breathe life into the old ways by making them new again.
Yeah, see, transformation. Yeah, this is what I was talking about. Yeah. Holy shit, is that that's the boat with the mirror on it. What was that myth that has a giant mirror on it to that starts a fire on other boats? I think that's what that is. I think it was Greek. Yeah, I think that was a Greek mythology.
Could Jung's deep descent into his own unconscious itself be a revival of an ancient tradition? Was he inspired to take this journey through his knowledge of similar practices in ancient cultures? I am pretty certain that he was. He never says it outright, but there is a telling phrase he mentions in passing during the red crystal vision. I take the
This is like kind of like the ego speaking to the ego. The like, well, I don't want to be wrong, or like the information is wrong, I'm right. Sort of like cognitive dissonance, how, or Dunning-Kruger syndrome, how you can't accept that you are wrong when provided with new empirical evidence. So like you deny the evidence, you don't listen to the new evidence, the voices.
stone. It covers a dark opening in the rock. I hold the stone in my hand, peering around inquiringly. I do not want to listen to the voices. They keep me away. This dark hole. I want to know where it leads.
Pythia. He mentions Pythia. See, he's mentioning some of exactly like I've done, except I've connected Gnosticism, Neoplatonism, Hermeticism. Um, he also mentioned Mithraic cult. So he mentioned Mithraic cult and Pythia. Let me double check what Pythia. Yeah, this is in a cave. Greek high priestess, temple of Apollo at Delphi. Okay, Delphi. Yeah, the oracle, and was known as the Oracle of Delphi. Interesting. This was before Christ, so it predates Christianity. Aristotle, Diogenes, Plato. Rise vapors rising from an opening in the rock. That's literally what he's saying. Like almost verbatim what he's saying. She spoke gibberish. Priests interpreted her utterances as enigmatic prophecies and recomposed them into verse as daclectic hexameter. Epic poems such as Homer's Iliad and the Odyssey It'd be like a higher level of consciousness. That looks like it could be like the gym almost.
And what it says. An oracle is at the place of Pythia, unquote. There was a fascinating tradition in ancient Greece. If you were seeking guidance of any kind, you would visit an oracle. An oracle is a person who acts as a medium between the world of the gods
Yeah, this
and
is
the
the vapors that I was just reading about. This is the vapors.
world of humans. These oracles
So this could be seen as like maybe like DMT or ayahuasca. Just like in other cultures, like there's also Native Americans where they go in the like the sweat tints or whatever with hallucinogen, and they come out with like stories of people shapeshifting into animals and stuff like that. Basically, tripping balls.
would often practice rituals of purification and enter a trance like meditative state, during which it was believed they communed with the gods. The most esteemed oracle in all of Greece was the Oracle of Delphi, whose name was Pythia. This is who Jung is referring to in that passing comment. To better understand the nature of such a tradition, let's travel back to ancient Greece, 2,400 years ago, to visit the Temple of Apollo at Delphi and meet Pythia herself. BC, and we are standing on Mount Parnassus, overlooking the lush surrounding landscape, hills and valleys covered with dark pine trees and olive tree groves. Just a soul-stirring view with the mountains and valleys around us, and what a perfectly clear blue sky. The Temple of Apollo is just up this way. It'll be a few minutes' walk. You know, to the Greeks, Delphi is considered the center of the world. The story goes that at dawn on a certain day, Zeus sent two eagles flying, one from the easternmost part of the world and one from the westernmost part. And they met right over Delphi.
That's where like Christianity got the thing with like the doves, the white doves.
Seeing what it looks like, you can imagine why the Greeks felt that way. There is just a special aura to this place. The symbol of Delphi is actually the navel, and a large ornamental egg-like stone adorns the center of the temple, representing the absolute center of the world. If you look down there, at the foot of the mountain, you can see crowds of people. They are trying to make their way up to the temple, in the hopes that they can see Pythia today and seek her counsel. There's this strange rule. The oracle only sees visitors on one day of each month, the seventh day, and only for 9 months out of every year. So you can imagine the anxiety of some of these people who likely traveled a few days, 100 miles, just for the unlikely chance they will meet Pythia. Regardless of the demand, she accepts all who come to seek her counsel, from nobles to peasants, and even emperors. Here comes the procession now. A woman dressed in maiden's robes and a laurel in her hair leads the way. She must be one of the priestesses of the temple. Behind her are 3 nobles, each carrying a small gift.
3
And
nobles.
walking with a sacrificial offering, 2 sheep, and a black ram. Let's join behind them. Pythia's prophecies are known throughout Greece. and dignitaries from other countries even make the trip just to seek her wise counsel. In 403 BC, Lysander, the Spartan victor of the Peloponnesian War, was warned by Pythia with these words: "Beware the dragon serpent, earthborn."
Beware the dragon serpent. That's the demiurge from Gnosticism. The dragon serpent. Look, that's literally the demiurge right here, the dragon serpent. They also mentioned three people. Well, the demiurge is formed by three. Yaldabaoth, Samael, and Saklas. Three.
In craftiness coming behind thee. 8 years later, he was slain from behind by Neocorus, who had a serpent painted upon his shield. And there are countless examples actually recorded and written by historians and authors of the time, which we can trace back and actually see how they compare to real events at the time. Oh, we are nearing the temple. There's another priestess who is inspecting the animal offerings the three noblemen have brought. She points to the black ram. A guard takes the animal, and the priestess motions for the nobleman to follow her. Seems the two other men were unworthy. She's leading him to the Catalian spring, where he must first bathe and purify himself before being able to seek counsel with the oracle. And here are the two main entrances to the temple, with their famous inscriptions chiseled in stone above the doorways: "Nothing in excess," and "Know thyself." That reminds me, according to Plato, when Pythia was asked who was the wisest person in Greece, she responded, "The wisest is Socrates, because he knows that he knows nothing."
Exactly. That is like the ego death, essentially. And also that's also a part of empiricism in science, is that you know that you don't know so that you can know, right? You don't It's basically not making an assumption, holding holding your belief for room of evidence instead of trying to affirm your own confirmation, like confirmation bias.
Let's head on in.
This is crazy. I can't believe I've like basically solved this.
Whoa, it's dark in here.
I literally invented a whole new philosophy.
Someone playing the harp down the corridor. This part of the temple is lit only by candles. Every wall is painted with elaborate frescoes or adorned with tapestries depicting scenes with the god Apollo, god of truth, music,
God of truth,
poetry,
empiricism.
the sun, and prophecy. Down the corridor, you can see the center of the temple, which is lit by the natural light of the sun and sky.
That's again the what we saw pictures of in the cave, the light. That's also gnosis, Gnosticism, knowledge. So truth. First he said truth, and now we have a representation of knowledge, because not all knowledge itself isn't technically true. Like such as like misinformation, disinformation, assumptions, beliefs.
Through a dome-like opening above, there's the heavy smell of myrrh in the air. We must be close to the entrance of Pythia's chamber. This way. You know, the tradition of the Oracle of Delphi is a strange one with very few parallels in our time. Pythia is the name given to the high priestess who performs the oracle work, but it is also the name of that position. It is similar to the Dalai Lama. The person assumes the full responsibility of the position, and when they die, the next Pythia is found. This is what has kept this tradition alive for centuries. The Pythia has tremendous influence. Her messages have changed the course of history in countless ways. In many instances, she serves the role of an advisor to emperors who seek to know what the gods think of their plans.
That's basically the hermetic teacher to student role, the teacher to student role.
In 359 BC, Philip II of Macedon consulted Pythia and was told, "With silver spears you may conquer the world." Unquote. He proceeded to gain control of the silver mines in Thrace and the Illyrian kingdom, using them to bribe his way to early victories, playing Greek states against each other. Philip also had a notoriously unruly black colt horse, which no one could tame. The Oracle of Delphi told him that whoever could ride his horse would conquer the world. Despite valiant efforts, neither Philip nor his generals could tame the horse. Then his son, Alexander, succeeded when he realized that the horse was actually afraid of his own shadow. Philip then gifted the horse, who was named Bucephalus, to Alexander, who earned the title Alexander the Great when he conquered Asia. When it is time to choose a new Pythia, a woman must volunteer who is worthy and exceptionally knowledgeable on matters of ritual. So most Pythia are former priestesses of the temple here. But there have been cases of Pythia who were peasants or even noblewomen who had outstanding talents in communing with the gods in this way. It is no overstatement to say that the woman serving as Pythia is the most powerful woman in Greece.
This also goes into like Sophia. So in Gnosticism, this is like Sophia, which is divine feminine. And throughout countless cultures, knowledge itself is represented as a woman character. So I can show you. We have Sophia, and then we have Saraswati. So, goddess of knowledge, education, learning, speech, arts, music, poetry, purification. Oh, it's right there, purification. Holy shit. It's all connected. Purification, language of culture. And then we have Sophia, which is a goddess of knowledge. Knowledge, see? Among many Christian knowledge theologies. Yeah, it's crazy. It's all the same thing.
Let's take these stairs to the lower chamber. Here, we will need these torches. The temple was built around this entrance, which leads into
Like a
this
cave.
cavern.
Exactly, a cavern, a cave, dude. It's all fucking connected. It's crazy. It's almost like a unifying philosophy. It's like the same philosophy, just through different cultures at different periods of time and at different locations. That's interesting. Holy shit. The same thing, the same philosophy under different cultures, regions. That's crazy.
Soon see why. Do you now see why Jung asks, "Is this the place of Pythia?" during his red crystal vision? He may be referring to the physical cavern in which she had.
He's talking about like the descent, like he's describing all these other philosophies, just no one had put it together yet except for me. I put it together. Like it's all of these different, it's philosopher's stone, it's neoplatonism, hermeticism, gnosticism, Jung's, and then my philosophy, which is hypersanity.
As her visions, or through his prose, he may be referring to the mental place she must be inhabiting, where she receives these visions. There she is, at the center of the cavern. Her head is shrouded in shadow by a robe that wraps loosely around her body, creating a hood over her head. She is elevated 2 feet off the ground, sitting on a three-legged golden seat.
Three.
The chair is positioned over a deep chasm in the cavern floor. Smoke perpetually rises from this hole and is wafting over Pythia's hooded face. The temple was built around this chasm. The location is uniquely situated above two tectonic plates. The vapors and smoke that naturally rise from the chasm are likely from deep within the earth. She is a woman of about 50, dressed symbolically as a virgin maiden, and she routinely chews on oleander leaves. Part of the obligation of being a Pythia includes renouncing all worldly ties and possessions. This includes separating from your husband and family, which explains the symbolic dress of a virgin. It seems like she is in the middle of delivering her oracle message to a visitor. There are priests and priestesses that surround this space, forming a circle. Some of them are softly chanting, and some are awaiting Pythia's words, which they will transcribe on a parchment. Pythia speaks from this abnormal state, often in poetic verse. Some accounts describe her speaking
Yeah, incoherent. That's what I was reading. Not hypostasis. Fuck, where was it? Yeah, this is also known in different like religions. So like speaking in tongues and stuff like that. Interesting.
coherently, and the accompanying priests will decipher the message. Other accounts describe her speaking eloquently in verse. The oracle messages she delivers are believed to come from underworld powers.
Subconscious. So the underworld is basically like subconscious, essentially.
Perhaps in her deeply contemplative state, the
Yeah, deeply
messages
contemplative state.
arrive to her in the form of imagery and visions, like Jung was experiencing.
Yeah, it's the same story between all of them. It's like a single unifying story. It's the same story across vastly different periods of times in different cultures in different regions. How crazy is that? Like people disconnected through entire timelines, different places and different cultures are literally explaining the exact same philosophy. That's fucking crazy.
Could it be that the place that Jung's mind inhabits during the RedBook sessions is the same place that Pythia's mind
Or
inhabits?
Platonism's cave?
That places one in communication with a deep and imaginative center of the unconscious mind. It becomes clear that humans have been exploring the depths of their unconscious in a multitude of ways throughout time.
Yeah, exactly. Throughout, yeah. So we have the Philosopher's Stone and then Neoplatonism, Hermeticism, Gnosticism. It's crazy. Like it's the single unifying like method right here. This is amazing. That's crazy. Fear, curiosity, investigation, evidence, transformation. It's the exact same pattern. Fear, fantasy, belief, fear, exploration, insight, fear, exploration, insight, verification, integration. So the known world, the threshold, descent, chaos, hidden light, return, transformation, as is the Philosopher's Stone is a symbolic transformation, obviously. Like people always get it mixed up and think that alchemy is like turning rocks into gold or something, but that's not true. And then we have Descent into the Cave, the Black Slime, the Black Water, the Red Crystal, the Red Sun, Death Imagery, which is ego death. And then there's the Scarab, which is rebirth. So death and then rebirth, which is a central theme across real religions and philosophies. And then the new sun is basically gnosis, or from Gnosticism, what gnosis is not is divine knowledge, or which could be seen as higher order knowledge. And then there's integration, wholeness, illumination, perfected understanding, and then the union of opposites like the masculine and feminine. This could be seen as what was their name? Ardesh Venara. Yep, so Ardesh Venara, which is also a symbol for intersex, trans. You got the feminine and the male combined, the feminine and male energies combined, which is another sort of thing.
I think it's safe to assume that these things are on Jung's mind when he begins his confrontation with the unconscious. He may have even been using this opportunity to test the veracity of the claims of these methods. Contrary to what our first reaction is when reading the Red Book, Jung isn't doing something new and pioneering. He is reviving something ancient,
Exactly,
bringing what
reviving
is
something ancient. Oh my god, just like I'm doing with Hyper-Sanity. This is amazing.
dead back
A
to life.
secular philosophy that is empirical fact that connects through different regions, cultures, and timelines. But it's not spiritual mumbo jumbo, it's pure science, empiricism.
Life. Part 3. Elijah and Salome. Throughout the Red Book, Jung has meaningful encounters with mythic figures. In these visions, he carries on conversations with them, oftentimes even arguing with them. It creates a sense of drama and tension, and when
Oh, this is interesting. This could be like today, and like how you can debate with AI, where you can have AI debate itself. So you can literally have AI debate itself through three different personalities. Or this could be seen as the movie Split. There's multiple personalities in the same body, and they literally all fight for the light. Like that's literally in Split the movie. So like is a term used to describe the state of control over Kevin Wendell's Crumb's physical body, his 23 distinct personalities or alters. Um, yeah, only one personality can be in the light at any given time, meaning they are the one acting out and controlling Kevin's physical form. So, like in a psychological term, it can be used to describe multiple personalities disorders.
when reading it, one must assume that Jung is confronting deep seated parts of his own being. These are profoundly personal experiences we are witnessing. This passage is dated December 21st, 1913. On the night when I considered the essence of God, I became aware of an image.
Old man stood before me, looked like one of the old man. That could be ego death, right? The old him is dying for the newer him, and enlightened, so to speak, him.
I lay in a dark depth. An old man stood before me. He looked like one of the old prophets. A black serpent lay at his feet.
Just
Some
like a demiurge.
distance away, I saw a house with columns. A beautiful maiden steps out of the door.
That's like Sophia from Gnosticism.
She walks uncertainly, and I see.
Dude, that's it. Like, that's literally Gnosticism. You have Sophia who brings the light against the serpent, the demiurge serpent. See, we have Sophia right there. See, there's the sun. This is the same image. Look at that. This part right here is the same image. No fucking way. Dude, it's the exact same image. No fucking way. Holy shit, that's crazy. See, did I take a picture of it? Okay, so let me find, where was that image? That's at 49 minutes. This is literally the same image that's in Gnosticism. The exact same. It's like an upside down crescent. Here's the dragon.
He was utterly cynical. He was frequently conscious. Your friendship in which I.
Where was it? It's gonna drive me crazy if I don't find it, because now that I've made the connection. See, there's the dragon.
Are a mixture of German, Latin, and Greek. All throughout the book, there are beautiful and intricate paintings, some of them in the text. Looking at this book, you would have to assume this is an ancient religious manuscript, maybe a work of medieval literature from 1,000 years ago. This is no ordinary book.
There's the dove, the white dove.
Do yourself a favor, HIV, and visit archive.org. That's ARCHIVE.
Like right there.
Archive.org. That's ARCHIVE.
Right there, that symbol. This symbol right here. This symbol right here. And it was also in another part. I can't remember where it was, though. But it's literally the exact same symbol. It's like an upside down. It's going to drive me crazy if I can't find it.
Insights and self-knowledge, a kind of divine madness. We are witnessing an alchemical process taking place. Jung mentions.
Yeah, this is it. This is it. That's literally, maybe, kind of, maybe not. Very similar, though. Hey, wait, that's the same. This little water, this thing with the water, that's what we were just on.
Black serpent lay at his feet. Some distance away, I saw a house with columns. A beautiful maiden steps out of the. We are
Right
witnessing.
here.
This passage is dated December.
That's like this right here. It's got a cross on it.
December
Flower.
21st, 1913.
The similarities are
On the
just
night
like
when I
crazy.
considered the essence of God, I became
The
aware of
essence of God, that's gnosis,
an image. I
divine
lay in
knowledge.
a dark depth. An old man stood before me. He looked like one of the old prophets. A black serpent lay at his feet. Some distance away, I saw a house with columns. A beautiful maiden steps out of the door.
Sophia
She
or
walks
Saraswati.
uncertainly, and I see that she is blind. The old man waves to me, and I follow him to the house at the foot of the sheer rock wall. The serpent creeps behind us. Darkness reigns inside the house. We are in a high hall with glittering walls. A bright stone, the color of water, lies in the background. As I look into its reflection, the images of Eve, the tree, and the serpent appear to me. After
The
this,
tree and the serpent.
I catch sight of Odysseus and his journey on the high seas. Suddenly, a door opens on the right onto a garden full of bright sunshine. We step outside, and the old man says to me, "Do you know where you are?" I say, "I am a stranger here, and everything seems strange to me, anxious as in a dream. Who are you?" The old man responds, "I am Elijah, and this is my daughter Salome." I respond, "The daughter of
Salome,
Herod, the
Sophia.
bloodthirsty woman?" Elijah asks, "Why do you judge so? You see that she is blind. She is my daughter, the daughter of the prophet." I say, "What?"
The daughter of the prophet. That is literally Sophia. So Sophia brings knowledge to people out of ignorance. She she saves people from the demiurge's um false world, which is like in Matrix, is waking is the oracle in Matrix, giving knowledge to the one Neo. Um, yeah, crazy.
Miracle has united you. Elijah answers, "It is no miracle. It was so from the beginning. My wisdom and my daughter are one." I am
My
shocked.
wisdom and my daughter are one. Oh my god, that's literally, dude. Sophia wisdom. Look, it's literally the same thing as a central idea in Hellenistic philosophy and religion, Platonism, and Gnosticism. Crazy. This is the Hagia Sophia, the what he just said, the Hagoi or whatever. Fuck, I gotta go to the bathroom.
I'm incapable of grasping it. Elijah continues, consider this. Her blindness and my sight have made us companions through eternity. I say, forgive my astonishment. Am I truly in the underworld? Salome interrupts, do you love me? I respond, how can I love you? How do you come to this question? I see only one thing. You are Salome, a tiger. Your hands are stained with the blood of the Holy One. How should I love you? Salome answers, you will love me. I say, I?
This is the whole philosophy behind wisdom. So Sophia represents wisdom, and it's all about the same thing: learning and seeking knowledge, and then transforming yourself with knowledge. So Sophia literally represents the love of knowledge. Philosophy, love of wisdom. See, right here, and was significantly shaped by the term philosophia, love of wisdom. It's literally the exact same thing. Crazy. That's where philosophy comes from. Philosophy comes from uh the whole idea of love for wisdom. Philosophy, philosophia, philosophy.
Love you? Who gives you the right to such thoughts? Salome proclaims, I love you. I say, leave me be, I dread you, you beast. Salome continues, you do me wrong. Elijah is my father, and he knows the deepest mysteries. The walls of this house are made of precious stones. His wells hold healing water, and his eyes see the things of the future. And what wouldn't you give for a single look into the infinite unfolding of what is to come? Are these not worth a sin for you? I respond, your temptation is devilish. I long to be back in the upper world. It is dreadful here. How oppressive and how heavy is the air. Elijah asks, what do you want? The choice is yours. I say, but I do not belong to the dead. I live in the light of day. Why should I torment myself here with Salome? Do I not have enough of my own life to deal with? Elijah says, you heard what Salome said. I respond, I cannot believe that you, the prophet, can recognize her as a daughter and a companion. Is she not engendered from heinous seed? Was she not vain greed and criminal lust?
Oh, from heinous seed. This also goes into Sophia Gnosticism. So she gave birth to the demiurge. Oops. The creation of the demiurge. Yeah, so causes confusion and longing to return to it. Because of these longings, matter and the soul uh, accidentally came into existence. The creation of the demiurge, also known as Yaldabaoth, is also a mistake made during this exile. The demiurge proceeds to create the physical world in which we live, ignorant of Sophia, who nonetheless manages to infuse some spiritual spark or pneuma into his creation.
Elijah answers, but she loved a holy man.
Criminal lust. That's what that refers to. Criminal lust. That's literally this right here. That's crazy. Oh my god, this is amazing.
I say, and shamefully shed his precious blood. Elijah continues, she loved the prophet who announced the new God to the world. She loved him. Do you understand that? For she is my daughter. I respond, do you think that because she is your daughter, she loved the prophet in John, the Father? Elijah answers, by her love shall you know her. I ask, but how did she love him? Do you call that love? Elijah says, what else was it? I respond, I am horrified. Who wouldn't be horrified if Salome loved him? Elijah responds, are you cowardly? Consider this. I and my daughter have been one since eternity. I say, you pose dreadful riddles. How could it be that this unholy woman and you, the prophet, of your God could be one.
Yeah, exactly. Sophia was kind of like the daughter of Pleroma, which is like the highest realm of existence, sort of like heaven or the highest point of heaven, zenith, so to speak. So like the highest point of heaven. Um, yeah. How could you be one exactly,
Elijah asks,
Sophia?
"Why are you amazed? But you see it. We are together." I say, "What my eyes see is exactly what I cannot grasp. You, Elijah, who are a prophet, the mouth of God, and she, a bloodthirsty horror. You are the symbol of the most extreme contradiction." Elijah states, "We are real and not symbols." I see how the black serpent writhes up the tree and hides in the branches. Everything becomes gloomy and doubtful. Elijah rises. I follow and we go silently back through the hall. Doubt tears me apart. It is all so unreal, and yet a part of my longing remains behind. Will I come again? Salome loves me. Do I love her? I hear wild music, a tambourine, a sultry moonlit night, the bloody staring head of a holy one. Fear seizes me. I rush out. I am surrounded by the dark night. It is pitch black all around me. Who murdered the hero? Is this why Salome loves me? Do I love her, and did I therefore murder the hero? She is one with the prophet, one with John, but also one with me? Was she the hand of God? I do not love her, I fear her. Then the spirit of the depths spoke to me and said, "Therein you acknowledge her divine power. Must I love Salome?" So, what is going on here with Jung meeting Elijah and Salome in his vision? It's helpful to have some context to these two characters. Elijah is a religious prophet who is said to have lived in northern Israel during the 9th century BC.
Hey, there's the symbol with the sun. That's the uh, see, there's the halo in the background there, and then there's also let's see, where is it? And then there's the sun right there.
He appears in all the Abrahamic religions as a key figure and is said to have performed
Cave.
miracles
See, cave.
comparable to Jesus, including raising the dead, bringing fire down from the sky, entering heaven alive by fire, and being a leader of a school of prophets. Salome, on the other hand, has a much more controversial history. She lived in the 1st century AD, and infamously, she danced before Herod, the ruler of Galilee, during his birthday banquet, and her dancing was so pleasing to Herod that he told her, "Whatever you ask me for, I will give it to you, up to half my kingdom." Unquote. Salome consulted with her mother and answered Herod, "I want you to give me the head of John the Baptist on a platter." Herod was not happy with this request, but he felt strongly that he had to uphold his oath. So he sent guards to the prison and asked them to bring back John the Baptist's head. And on that same night, they did, presenting the platter to Salome. During the Middle Ages, her biblical story took on new life in art and literature. Her dance took on an erotic interpretation and became known as the Dance of the Seven Veils. Salome became a symbol of the temptress, a symbol of unbridled desire, luring away those who are on the
Lilith.
road to salvation. It is with these connotations that Elijah and Salome.
It's crazy that he doesn't understand. Like, how is he this like blind and ignorant that that's like wrong though? Like everything points to her being Sophia. and giving birth to the demiurge. That's crazy. Like, it literally connects more to Gnosticism, Hermeticism, Neoplatonism than this. Like, ontologically, it makes no sense.
appear in Jung's mind. But rather than assuming that Jung is witnessing some kind of biblical narrative unfold before his inner vision, I think it is more accurate to say that Elijah and Salome are symbols, in a sense,
Exactly.
manifestations of aspects of Jung's own mind.
But
Elijah
see, that's what's wild, is that it's not of his own mind. It's all these other religions. Like, it literally matches several philosophies and like religions. Like, verbatim matches everything.
representing the path of spiritual knowledge, virtue,
Spiritual knowledge, gnosis, spiritual knowledge. That's crazy. Yeah, spiritual knowledge. It says right here, which signifies a spiritual knowledge. So, like, it matches Gnosticism more than whatever he's describing here. I don't understand how someone that supposedly knows philosophy doesn't understand Gnosticism. Like, I feel like a lot of people know that Gnosticism is about knowledge. It's in the word, know, GNOKNO, no, sis, as in know this.
and mystical experience. Salome, representing the path of earthly pleasure, vice, and ignorance.
Ego.
It's curious to note that Jung sees Salome blinded, that she's without vision. This could be seen as symbolic of the idea that one who is led only by desire
Ego
and search for animal impulses and pleasure
is
is
blind.
in some ways blind, right?
Yes, that goes into the demiurge. So the demiurge is blind. The blind god. See right here, blind god. So, like, the blindness is not a literal blindness; it's an ignorance, which is ironic because he's blind. That he's describing Gnosticism and has no idea he's describing Gnosticism. Like, that is so fascinating. How's no one else made this connection before? Am I the only one making it like this? Like, what the fuck?
They aren't functioning through reason. The struggle between these two ways of living, Elijah and Salome,
Yeah, exactly. Between rational living and living by belief, ego, pleasure, senseless pleasures. You know, which is like most Americans, like they live purely on belief and not rationality.
puts Jung in the center of an existential conundrum. Ultimately, in the writing that follows, Jung arrives at an understanding that implies that the way of Elijah and the way of Salome are not exclusive, but actually mutually dependent. They are not opposites, but instead form a duality of living.
Dude, what was I saying? Duality of living. This is the integration between the masculine and the feminine in other ways. What do we have here? A duality, Ardash Finara, combined form of Shiva and Parvati. And this predates all everything that he's talked about. This predates that. Ardash Finara predates all of this. So this is like the oldest recorded form of philosophy. This is basically where it all started, was Vedic tradition. So you have the right half is usually the male Shiva, um, and then you have the other form, like crazy.
And one must learn to navigate it. In that context, Elijah's words make sense when he says, I
That's also like the conscious and the subconscious, integrating both the subconscious and the consciousness, uh, which you can only get from hypothetically through ego death.
and my daughter have been one since eternity. Jung later writes, the way of
Yeah,
life
also knowledge
writhes
and
like the
ignorance.
serpent, from right to left, and from left
Knowledge and ignorance have existed since humankind, right?
to right, from thinking to pleasure, and from
Exactly.
pleasure to thinking. Thus, the serpent is an adversary and a symbol of enmity, but also a wise bridge that connects right and left through longing, much needed by our life.
Ego death.
Unquote. The symbols of Elijah and Salome, they reappear in several of Jung's visions. Let's explore what I feel is the most startling one, which occurs.
This is crazy, dude. This guy has no idea, like, essentially completely what he's talking about. Like, not fully. He doesn't have the full picture. Like, I feel like anyone that seriously studied philosophy should have made this connection by now. How am I the only one making this connection? Like, I'm the only one that's seeing all these religions combined are the same thing throughout centuries. It's the exact same goddesses and gods, the exact same alchemical transformation of ego death and rebirth into a rational, logical self through knowledge, like the scientific method, basically, empiricism.
Occurred December 25th, 1913.
Yeah, Jesus' birthday. Yeah, and see, that's what a lot of people don't realize is that Christianity, like, it's so crazy that people don't understand that there are religions that predate Christianity. Christianity chose the 25th of December based on other beliefs.
Curiously, on Christmas. On the third night, deep longing to
Third.
continue experiencing the mysteries seized me. The struggle between doubt and desire was great in me, but suddenly I saw that I stood before a steep ridge in a wasteland.
Waste.
It is a dazzling bright day. I catch sight of the prophet high above me. His hand makes an averting movement, and I abandon my decision to climb up. I
Oh
wait
my.
below, gazing upward. I look. To the right, it is dark night.
Oh, what is this? What is this again? Moon and the sun? It's literally the same thing. The sun and the moon. Look, it's the same. That's crazy. How's no one made this connection before? Like, I've connected Gnosticism, Hermeticism, Neoplatonism, and alchemical transformation into Jung's Red Book, and I don't think anyone else has done this before. Like, that, this is wild. Like, it's all the same thing. The sun and the moon, the blind god, and then Sophia. Like, it's crazy. I can't believe no one's made this connection
To the
before.
left, it is bright day. The rock separates day and night. On the dark side lies a big black serpent.
That could also be seen as the divide between knowledge and ignorance.
And on the bright side, a white serpent. They thrust their heads toward each other, eager for battle. Elijah stands on the heights above them.
It's like the
The
fight
serpents
between
pounce
knowledge
on
and
one another,
ignorance.
and a terrible wrestling ensues. The black serpent seems to be stronger. The white serpent draws back. Great billows of dust rise from the place of struggle, but then I see the black serpent pulls itself back again. The front part of its body
The black serpent could be ego.
has become white. Both serpents curl about themselves.
And this talks about the duality, like Ardash Fanar, the male and feminine combined. Also, it's important to note that there's like the ox or whatever, which is the same thing with Mithra. And then you have the lion, which also goes back into Gnosticism, the lion, the serpent, the sun, the moon, and then Gnosis, the knowledge and ignorance, and Yaldabaoth and Samael and Soklas are the blind gods.
One in light, the other in darkness.
Yep.
Elijah says, "What did you see?"
So light symbolizes knowledge and wisdom, and then darkness symbolizes ignorance. That's why in Gnosticism and on these other religions and philosophies, which are basically all the same thing, connected through different time periods and regions, you know, you're blind as ignorant. That could also be seen as ego. Like a lot of people live by ego instead of like empiricism, like the scientific, like logical, rational
I
method.
respond, I saw the fight of two formidable serpents. It seemed to me as if the black would overcome the white serpent. But behold, the black one withdrew, and its head and the top part of its body had turned white, Elijah says.
Yeah, that is ignorance being that's the transformation uh between knowledge and ignorance. Like when you're presented with new knowledge and your ego is not associated with the new knowledge, you defeat the ignorance, the black, with the white knowledge.
Do you understand that? I respond, I have thought it over, but I cannot understand it. Should it mean that the power of the good light will become so great that even the darkness that resists it will be illuminated by it? Elijah climbs before me into the heights, to a very high summit. I follow. On the peak, we come to some masonry made of huge blocks. It is a round embankment on the summit. Inside lies a large courtyard, and there is a mighty boulder in the middle, like an altar. The prophet stands on this stone and says, This is the temple of the sun. This place is a vessel that collects the light of the sun.
That's like gnosis. It's basically gnosis, the spark, I
Elijah climbs
guess.
down from the stone. His form becomes smaller in descending and finally
There's the cave.
becomes dwarf like, unlike himself. I ask, Who are you? I am Mime, and I will show you the well springs. The collected light becomes water and flows in many springs from the summit into the valleys of the earth. He then dives down into a crevice. I follow him down into a dark cave. I hear the rippling of a spring.
Yeah, so then it reconnects all again. So like this is all connected. So it's the same story. It's Plato's cave, the Mithraic cave, Jung's cave, Leonardo da Vinci's cave, the Gnostic descent, and then the Neoplatonic return. It goes from known world, threshold, descent, chaos, hidden light, return, and transformation. So it's all the same archetypes. Like it's literally the same thing. I don't know how no one's figured like realized it, but it's literally the same exact story across cultures and times. However, the one thing that most people didn't make is that the first oldest recorded religion and philosophy is Vedic in Sanskrit. It's the oldest recorded philosophy and religion. And that's basically where everything is derived from, essentially. It's just is people retelling the same story in from different regions perspectives, different from the perspective of different cultures. And so like right here you have the lion and the ox, and you have the feminine and the masculine. So that is like that's like the Gnostic demiurge, the serpent, the lion, the the blind god, and then Ardesh for art. She see how it has the light around here at the head. It's literally the same thing. I don't know how they no one's like figured this out yet. That's crazy.
I hear the voice of the dwarf from far below. Here are my wells. Whoever drinks from them becomes wise.
Yeah, and if we're doing it through a psychological analytical, we'll have the map right here. So it talks about ego death and transformation. Like a lot of people think that alchemy is about like turning material from one material transforming it into another, but alchemy is actually like transformation in a metaphorical sense. So like when you learn something new, you can transform into like a new you. This could also be seen as like the death of the child into being an adult. Like, you know, the child in you dies, so to speak. Yeah, it's crazy. Even Leonardo da Vinci has the same retelling of the cave. It's crazy.
But I cannot reach down. I lose courage. I leave the cave and, doubting, pace back and forth in the square of the courtyard. Everything appears to me strange and incomprehensible. It is solitary and deathly silent here. The air is clear and cool, as on the remotest heights, a wonderful flood of sunlight all around. The great wall surrounds me. A serpent crawls over the stone. It is the serpent of the prophet. How did it come out of the underworld into the world above? I follow it and see how it crawls into the wall. I feel weird all over. A little house stands there with a portico, minuscula, snuggling against the rock. The serpents become infinitely small. I feel as if I too am shrinking. The walls enlarge into a huge mountain, and I see that I am below on the foundation of the crater in the underworld. And I stand before the house of the prophet. He steps out of the door of the house. I say, I notice, Elijah, that you have shown me and let me experience all sorts of strange things, and allowed me to come before you today, but I confess that it is all dark to me. Your world appears to me today in a new light. Just now
See,
it
that's what he's talking about, like a new light. That's like when you learn significant new knowledge, you see things in a new light, a new perspective, a new understanding. That's just like when you learn some new field, or something new in a new field, like a science, like evolution or history or something like that. It causes you to see things in a new light. So light has always been a representation of wisdom and knowledge.
was as if I were separated by a starry distance from your place.
The starry distance is the distance between understanding and knowing. Just because you know something doesn't mean you understand it. um like, it's also the distinction that a lot of people fail to see, is that, like, just because you memorize something doesn't mean you understand it. And intelligence isn't memorization, it's understanding. It's the ability to understand something when you see it. So just because you, like, memorize a mathematical formula doesn't mean you actually understand it or how to apply it.
Place, which I still wanted to reach today, but behold, it seems to be one and the same place. Elijah says, You wanted to come here far too much. I did not deceive you, you deceived yourself. He sees badly who wants to see.
This is okay. This is literally confirmation bias. Like, seeing what you want to see. This is literally like 95% of everyone. Like, they don't want to be proven wrong, but like, the whole point of like empiricism and empirical living, logic rational living, is that you want to be proven wrong, because only when you're proven wrong can you understand something from a new perspective. But most people just want to be confirmed in understanding, so they look for whatever corroborates their own already existing belief, confirmation bias. And this is all about knowledge. He sees badly who wants
See,
to
you have
see.
overreached yourself. I say, it is true. I eagerly longed to reach you, to hear more. Salome startled me and led me into bewilderment. I felt dizzy, because what she said seemed to me to be so monstrous and like madness. Where is Salome? Elijah says, How impetuous you are. What is up with you? Step over to the crystal and prepare yourself in its light. A wreath of fire shines around the stone.
Yeah, and this is like the metaphorical philosopher's stone.
I am seized with fear at what I see. The coarse peasant's boot, the foot of a giant that crushes an entire city. I see the cross, the removal of the cross, the mourning. How agonizing this sight is. No longer do I yearn. I see the divine child with the white serpent in his right hand and the black serpent in his left hand. I see the green mountain, the cross of Christ on it, and a stream of blood flowing from the summit of the mountain. I can look no longer. It is unbearable. I see the cross and
That's kind of like how when you come across knowledge that shakes you down to the very foundation of your being. This could be seen as like a religious person who goes secular and they understand that everything they believe is like a lie, like Christianity, right? Because like it's through empiricism, empirical science proves that Christianity is a new religion, and Christianity is literally copied from like Gnosticism and other pre-existing philosophies and religions. And so like when someone that has lived their entire life in belief, not reality, sees reality for the first time, it shakes them down to the core. And this again goes back into like the Matrix and Neoplatonism of when you leave the cave of ignorance, that dark cave of ignorance, and through knowledge, and you leave the cave, your eyes hurt because you haven't really used your eyes before. You never saw things in the light as they really were. You saw things as you wanted them to be, which is again what they just talked about a minute ago. Seeing what you want to see, not what really is, not reality.
Christ on it in his last hour and torment. At the foot of the cross, the black serpent coils itself. It has wound itself around my feet. I am held fast, and I spread my arms.
Oh, that's also goes right back into Gnosticism. So, where is it? Where was it that I saw that? Yeah, so you got two serpents here, or wrapped around his legs. It's literally the exact same thing.
Arms wide. Salome draws near. Serpent has wound itself around my whole body, and my countenance is that of a lion.
A lion! Oh my god, that's literally what this is. That's literally Gnosticism. That's the demiurge. What do we have here? A lion serpent with the starry night and then the sun, which is knowledge. And then you have like right here, gnosis. This is literally, like objectively, Gnosticism.
Salome says, Mary was the mother of Christ.
And also not only that, but like Saraswati, but where is it? Fuck, did I close it? Oh yeah, Ardash Fanara. We have the lion. Look how the lion is like wrapped around her waist as well.
Do you understand? I say, I see that a terrible and incomprehensible power forces me to imitate the Lord in his final torment.
Exactly, imitate the Lord in his final moment. So this is like talking about like how you live in belief, and you're basically repeating the same philosophies, the same religions that are, it's the same thing throughout generations, throughout centuries. It's the exact same thing with just different names of the figures essentially, but the whole story, everything, the premise, the archetypes, it's all exactly the same. And this goes into perennial philosophy, which is that all philosophy, all religions are basically the same thing.
But how can I presume to call Mary my mother? Salome says, You are Christ. I stand with outstretched arms like someone crucified, my body taut and horribly entwined by the serpent. You, Salome, say that I am Christ? It is as if I stood alone on a high mountain, with stiff, outstretched arms. The serpent squeezes my body in its terrible coils, and the blood streams from my body, spilling down the mountainside. Salome bends down to my feet and wraps her black hair round them. She lies thus for a long time, and she cries, I see light. Truly.
And then again, this is literally,
and she cries.
So like the sun, and he's wrapped in the that's literally like Gnosticism. It's like the demiurge in a way.
I see light.
The starry night, the night with the sun, the circular sun behind, like above his head.
Sees, her eyes are open. The serpent falls from my body and lies languidly on the ground. I stride over it, and kneel at the feet of the prophet, whose form shines like a flame. Elijah says, "Your work is fulfilled here. Other things will come. Seek untiringly, and above all, write exactly what you see."
This is literally the definition of empiricism, of hypersanity, my philosophy. So, like, we go to empiricism, and empiricism is like the philosophy of rationalism and empirical evidence. So, it's like, as you see factual knowledge, write it down. This is literally empiricism. See, empirical evidence. It's one of the several competing views within epistemology, along with rationalism and skepticism. Relying purely, it's empiricists argue that empiricism is a more reliable method of finding the truth than relying purely on logical reasoning, because humans have cognitive biases and limitations which lead to errors and judgments.
Salome looks in rapture at the light that streams from the prophet. Elijah transforms into a huge flame of white light. The serpent wraps itself around her foot as if paralyzed. Salome kneels before the light in wonder-struck devotion. Tears fall from my eyes, and I hurry out into the night like one who has no part in the glory of the mystery. My feet do not touch the ground of this earth, and it is as if I were melting into air.
See, then we have the sun. Like, I can't get over this. This is literally, it's all connected. It's almost like a unifying, like, not theory, but like, yes, you have the sun and then the moon right here. That's crazy. And just like in Christianity, there's like the tree of knowledge or whatever, and like knowledge was forbidden and stuff like that. And that's what the core idea is that, you know, pursuit of knowledge and the truth is like the highest form of living, is like the highest form of life, is the pursuit of knowledge, of wisdom, not belief, but like logical, rational living. That's basically like the philosophy of it. That's like the underlying message between them all. And that's why Christianity is so devious, is because Christianity punishes learning. Christianity literally teaches people to be ignorant because it punishes those who want to see the truth. And that's also kind of like Ouroboros in a way. Philosopher's Stone. Damn, it's all connected. I figured it out. That's crazy. That is fucking amazing. Can't believe it was like all connected too. And then there's also let's see. Where is Spanish perennials? Take some pictures here. Let's see. Wait, did I go too far?
You see. Salome looks in rapture at the light that streams from the prophet.
Then we go with so we can compare, and then R dash for Nara. It's literally the exact same thing. It's crazy. And then Saraswati is also the original formation of Sophia wisdom, because it predates 1,500 years before Christ entered. That's why if you want to start in philosophy, you start with the oldest recorded instance, and then you go forward. You do it like chronologically. And Vedic is if there was a real religion, then it's going to be Vedic because it's the oldest recorded, and everything else is based off of it essentially. And then right here we have ignorance and knowledge, truth from belief. Okay, so the black snake could also be ego. So the black snake, ego has to die in order to really learn something without bias. You have to have ego death in some sense. Let me get some more. This is crazy. I can't wait to turn this into a video. So I don't understand how he doesn't understand. I don't understand how the uploader here doesn't understand like how it's all connected. Like he completely misses everything. Like he misses the bigger picture completely.
Appears in all the Abrahamic religions as a key figure and is
Yeah,
said
all
to have
Abrahamic.
performed miracles comparable to
Yeah,
Jesus.
so he talks about Abrahamic religions and whatnot, but he completely misses Gnosticism. The whole thing that's about knowledge. Like Jungian's like philosophy is basically like kind of like empiricism or hypersanity. Well, I guess you would say Jungian's is more like psychology, like subconscious psychology. Oh, what is that right there? See? Yep, that's like the ox or whatever right here. And then later on they mention the lion. I literally saw fucking Jung's red book. I don't know if anyone's actually done this like to this extent before. That's crazy. I like learned so fucking much. I connected like so many different philosophies together. And then right here we have like the old forbidden knowledge.
To write, from thinking to pleasure and
Yep.
and from pleasure to thinking. Thus, the serpent is an adversary and a symbol of.
Exactly. The black serpent is an adversary. And so like black is ignorance and belief, and then the white serpent is fact and truth. Because not that just because something's knowledge doesn't necessarily mean it's correct or true. And so it's about the battle between belief and fact, between ego and truth, between what's belief, aka religion, and what's fact, reality, truth, knowledge, wisdom. I can't believe this guy did this whole video. Like, he must not really be into philosophy. Because it's like Gnosticism is like one of the obvious philosophies between learning, between like knowledge. It's literally in the word itself. Gnosis, know this, know as in GNO and then KNO. It's literally the same thing. It's a philosophy about knowledge. And then Sophia is the literal representation of knowledge. Philosophy comes from Neoplatonism, um, like right here, see, shaped by the term philosophia, love of wisdom. Philosophy is the literal epistemic ontological definition of Sophia, love of wisdom. Philosophy literally means love of wisdom. That's what these philosophies all have in common. It's about the love for wisdom over ignorance. Because what is the antithesis of wisdom? Belief, ignorance. A blind God that is an ignorant God being defeated by knowledge, by gnosis, or the divine spark. So, and then there's also, let's see, Saraswati, Adishvanara, Mithraic. Do I have that here? We got a serpent here in the stone. Here's the lion with the serpent. Oh my god. This is literally the exact scene. He's being covered up in snakes with the lion. Literally exactly the same. Like, once you see it, you can't unsee it. Like, look, it's literally the. What the fuck? It's literally the same thing. That you're touching on something that many scholars of comparative religion Jung, and philosophy have noticed. The symbols are often different, but the underlying structure keeps repeating. So we have conscious versus unconscious. Alchemy is soul versus Luna. So in alchemy, the soul and the Luna is basically so soul is like the sun, and then Luna is like night star. So that's like literally the symbol here. And then we have Taoism, yin and yang, light and dark, knowledge and wisdom. And then Ardashvanara, we have the incorporation of Shiva and Shakti, which is the feminine and the male combined um, into one. We also have the lion there with the ox, just like, or whatever, like in Mithra, kind of. Then we have Neoplatonism, unity and multiplicity, like the simulation, and then we have Hyper-Sanity, which is my philosophy, investigation, and then the opposite of that, it would the polar opposite is contradiction. Because once you notice a contradiction and you try to solve the contradiction, you end up with knowledge, with new understanding. And then in psychology, you have order and chaos. The important thing is not which side wins. The important thing is what emerges from the conflict. This is again transformation. That's where like the philosopher's stone comes from. Like the philosopher's stone was metaphorical. Like all philosophy is metaphor. It's not literal. There's no such thing as religion or anything like that. And yeah, like so knowledge it transforms. It can transform you. It transforms your brain, your understanding. Image may actually be one of the strongest parallels. Adashvanara literally combines male, female, Shiva, Shakti, consciousness, energy, transcendence, and manifestation into one being, and not just good versus evil, not truth or lies, but complementary opposites united. This is literally what he was talking about, the combination of the duality, the the marriage of duality. This is extremely close to Jung's self. And then here we have the lion-headed serpent. It's fascinating because it sits exactly at the intersection of Gnosticism, Mithraism, Neoplatonism, and Hermeticism. It often represents time, fate, cosmic order, and transformation. Notice the pattern: serpent plus solar symbolism repeated. You have the solar symbolism, serpent, lion. Because the serpent often represents transformation, cyclical renewal, hidden wisdom, and movement between worlds. This goes into like Ouroboros, like the snake eating its tail. That's like this cyclical renewal, while the sun represents illumination, consciousness, and intelligibility. This also goes even into like modern movies and philosophies. Like in the movie The Split, only one personality can be in the light at any given time, meaning they are one acting out and controlling Kevin's physical form. Each switch in personality often results in invisible physiological changes. Physiological changes also connects to Adash Vanara. Uh, Together, they form transformation through illumination. If I translate the recurring pattern into hypersanity terms, not belief versus true, but model A versus model B, then it's conflict, investigation, integration. Higher order model. The old model dies, the new model emerges. This is literal recursive. This is recursion. See, applying ethics to itself, it's philosophical and cybernetic approach, structural and systems theory, recursive sciences, frames recursive ethics as a scientific discipline defining lawful recursion and symbolic containment. Here, ethics serves as a structural boundary condition that preserves identity and coherence in symbolic systems, including AI, after collapse, distinct from mere feedback loops or generative mimicry. That's what this is. The old model dies, the new model emerges. That's what the whole thing about the ego death is. In order, like, the old you dies for the new you, the ignorant part of you before you understood higher order reasoning and knowledge, gnosis. The old you, the ignorant you, the formerly religious you or whatever, dies, and then a new rational logical version of yourself is born, is transformed. And also, it's the same pattern. So Leonardo da Vinci's cave, Plato's allegory of the cave, Mithric cave, Jung's cave, the Gnostic descent, Ardashvanara, two serpents, philosopher's stone, and divine child. The same structure keeps repeat appearing. Ordinary life, descent into uncertainty, encounter with opposites, knowledge, belief versus fact, and then conflict between the principles, discovery of hidden order, integration, and return transformed. That's why Jung became obsessed with alchemy. He wasn't interested in turning lead into gold. He thought alchemists accidentally preserved a symbolic map of psychological transformation. The deepest common denominator may be love of wisdom over attachment to certainty. This is like religion versus science. This is fundamental religion versus science. So, like, religion is a belief system. Belief isn't fact by ontological epistemic definition. So, belief is not fact. That's why it's called a belief system and not a fact system. That's fundamentally like why religion is called a belief system, because it's not fact. There's no scientific evidence for it. So yeah, the love of wisdom over attachment to certainty. This goes back into what he was talking about, confirmation bias, the internal conflict of seeing what you want to see versus seeing like what the evidence points to, or more formally, the willingness to enter uncertainty in pursuit of a more complete understanding of reality that fits Socrates, Plato, Leonardo, Jung, Neoplatonism, Hermeticists, mystics, and scientists. The cave, serpent, stone, divine child, and the union of opposite symbols may all be different mythological languages pointing towards the same underlying process. Fear, for your fear of the unknown, ignorance, and then investigation, afraid of what you might learn, that goes into like the forbidden knowledge, like the apple, and then transformation from investigation, and then greater integration, and that could be seen as like integrating new empirical evidence into your life, and then like applying higher order reasoning in like your everyday sort of life, just like you would like new science you find out. That is probably closer to the recurring pattern than simply truth defeating belief. In many of these systems, growth occurs because the opposites are confronted and integrated, not because one side is completely eliminated. This actually fits, because as he was saying, the snakes didn't actually defeat each other. The black snake withdrew from the white snake, so that's literally what this is. Confronted and integrated, instead of being not really necessarily defeated.
And wraps her black hair round them. She lies thus for a long time, then she cries, "I see light." Truly, she sees, her eyes are open. The serpent falls from my body and lies languidly on the ground. I stride over it and kneel at the feet of the prophet, whose form shines like a flame. Elijah says, "Your work is fulfilled here. Other things will come. Seek untiringly, and above all, write exactly what you see."
And again, that is empiricism, that's science. See, it's like the love of wisdom philosophy. It's the constant battle of wanting to learn and better yourself, and how you can incorporate wisdom and knowledge into your life. Empirical science.
Salome looks in rapture at the light that streams from the prophet. Elijah transforms into a huge flame of white light.
which is like represents knowledge essentially, or enlightenment, quasi enlightenment.
The serpent wraps itself around her foot as if paralyzed.
And I
Salome
guess really what you could consider the secular version of enlightenment would be higher form of understanding, higher order reasoning, knowledge in its purest form.
kneels before the light in wonder-struck devotion. Tears fall from my eyes, and I hurry out into the night like one who has no part in the glory of the mystery. My feet do not touch the ground of this earth, and it is as if I were melting into air.
It's all connected. This is crazy. This is awesome. Yep. It's like Ouroboros kind of. Belief versus fact, truth versus ignorance. I fucking love philosophy. God damn, I love philosophy. Man, it's kind of hard to top that after that realization. Fuck.
Well, I hope you enjoyed this deep dive into Dr. Carl Jung's RedBook. I really personally feel this is one of the most important books of the 20th century.
Makes sense, yeah.
So, why do I feel this way? I would say 4 reasons. 1, Dr. Carl Jung engages his unconscious willingly and then
Exactly.
documents what happens afterward in this.
Yeah, this is literally this is the practice of empiricism. The scientific method. Tested it against observations in the natural world rather than resting solely on a priori reasoning, intuition, revelation, aka belief.
Incredible, thorough, and even prosaic way. Now, that let alone is already pretty unique among literature of psychology, but I really believe in studying this work for years now that in the process.
How is it that someone that's been studying this work for years wasn't able to make the connection that I made in one night? That's fucking crazy. He didn't understand like all the connections between these religions and philosophies. He did not make the connection. What the fuck?
Jung reaches a kind of center from which religion and myth is born.
Exactly. Yeah, that's and again like cuz like most people don't even like really are interested in Vedic philosophy, but I was always drawn to it because I said, okay, hypothetically, if a religion was true, which religion would it be? And then so I went to the oldest recorded religion and philosophy, and that's Vedic, Sanskrit. You got the lion and the ox or the mule or whatever. They also have like the trident, like Poseidon and Lucifer. Because remember, like Lucifer was trying to give knowledge or something like that. Oh, also look, she has the or they have the snake around the arm too, similar to Jung's. This is also the oldest recorded record of intersex, aka trans. They're technically like a trans god or deity. So yeah, this is like the oldest recorded existence of LGBTQ representation. And then right here you see you have the sun or the moon symbol And then on this side is the sun. I can't believe he didn't make that like that connection. Like I don't know if that's just because it's like kind of like an atypical American thing. So like Americans just typically only look into and are interested in things from the West.
And so that's kind of crazy profound stuff. So now, second reason, I would say that this work, the Red Book, and the work that follows, Jung's psychological research, his clinical work, and all of the
Yeah,
lectures he gives for
empiricism,
the rest of his
science,
life,
fact.
really offer a roadmap for the individual to engage with this kind of process in their own life. In analytical psychology,
Yeah,
this
that's literally empiricism. Like how does he not know that it's empiricism? Like it's literally empiricism.
meditation that Jung does is called active imagination.
Active
And it
imagination. Yeah, this I guess this is what I do. This is how I describe philosophy is that you allow yourself to be open in an active imagination, but you never fully accept that it's real. So it's kind of like supposing this was real even though it's not. Just like in movies and games, right? You can kind of be like you can kind of like get into that world, into that setting, but you know it's not real, but you can sometimes lose yourself in it, like active imagination. So like that's how philosophy is best explored, is like through an active imagination. And this goes into like I guess the themes of like the death of the child into the adult. You lose that active imagination part of you when you get older typically, unless like maybe you're autistic or something.
continues to be kind of an essential tool of analytical psychology and when you're in psychoanalysis with someone who's a Jungian analyst. So it's super fascinating stuff. And this tool, in a sense, that he's provided us with through the Red Book allows us to heal our traumas and untangle our complexes. Number three, the work, it offers confirmation to all of Jung's later theories. We have to remember this Red Book happens at a time when he hasn't really developed his theories yet. It's early on in his career. And so it confirms the archetypes, the collective unconscious, the idea of the shadow, and this idea of using active imagination in this profound, personal, and transformative way.
Transformative
And number
way.
four, it's honestly just a great work of literature. In its original form, it's a mixture of German, Latin, and Greek. Add to that all these wonderful paintings and illustrations that are featured in it that
I want this
Jung
book
created
so bad.
himself,
I want this
which
book so
we
bad.
showed
And
and
then
tried.
again we have the dragon, which is like literally the demiurge. It's like Jesus defeating the dragon in some texts.
Covered in the first about 20 to 30 minutes of this episode. So, if you're interested in engaging with this work and reading the Red Book, you have two options. One, the facsimile edition, and two, the reader's edition. The facsimile copy is rather large, and it's meant to be a reproduction of Jung's original. So you have full page prints of his artworks and his calligraphy text.
Oh, I want it
The
so
reader's
bad.
edition, on the other hand, is just the text alone,
Oh, I don't
and
want
it's
that one.
really perfect, really ideal for anyone who wants to read these visions, study them, figure them out. And it's full of just profound footnotes from the
Yeah, and that's
editor
like
so it
another thing.
comes
Where was
on.
it?
And the reader's
So
edition
like right here, I made this connection early on. This is like the cave, like with the Taurus, the maze or whatever versus the Minotaur. And then right here we have oh, look, this is the exact same symbol. So like you have light and dark, and then you have the overall knowledge. This literally matches Sophia right here. I don't know if there's another better picture. Maybe not. But yeah, it's literally like this. You have the left, the right, and then a higher. It's also the pillars of Yakin and Boaz. So I learned this a long time ago when I was like into Freemason mythology and stuff. So like Yakin and Boaz, you have the two pillars here. So you have dark and light, and then you have a figure with the high priestess. So Sophia is essentially the high priestess. They even have a cross here. And then you have this sun right here. So it's literally the exact same thing. I don't know if I can zoom in. I guess not. But yeah, it's literally the exact same thing. So you have the two pillars, and this is also seen in like the duality of the snakes, and this is also seen as the duality of Ardash Vanara. So they're all representations for duality, and like that can mean like multiple things. So that can mean the duality between ignorance and knowledge, science and belief, um uh the male aspect and the female aspect, and like integrating those.
On the other hand, is just the text alone. And it's really perfect, really ideal for anyone who wants to read these visions, study them, figure them out. And it's full of just profound footnotes from the editor, Sonu Shamdasani. And profuse and profound footnotes. There's a lot. Some of these pages, the footnote covers up more than half the page.
That's
But
awesome.
it's a remarkable work in many ways, um, even just in the translation alone. So you have that to do homework on for yourself.
I literally solved it. I literally solved it in one night. That's crazy.
Furthermore, if you'd like to try the meditation that Jung devised for this
Oh,
experience yourself, in this YouTube channel, you'll find a guided meditation I've created, simply titled Guided Meditation Jung's Digging Method.
huh. I have to bookmark that. That makes me want to get into it. Awesome. Meditation. Guided meditation. Okay. Apocalyptic 1913. Yeah, there's two here. Also, I might have to get back into meditation again. That's so fascinating. I love philosophy. Love, like, learning is so amazing. Whoops.
Many people have tried it already, as you can see in the comments of that video. I still practice it practically every month, if not more than once a month. And it's really a really fascinating experience. Beyond
Yeah,
that, if
because
you'd like to
it's
support the
like
vision
I
of
get it because
creative
it's like digging into your unconscious, going layers and layers deeper into your subconscious.
codex and what we do on this channel, head over to my Patreon at patreon.com/MJ.
Man, it's kind of hard to top that. Fuck. I feel like I like solved the enigma code or something. The Hermetic Alchemist, Jung's Hermeticism and alchemical psychology. This is perfect. This is right up my alley. Oh
Well,
my
it
god.
is a small group, and this was my intent. By focusing on the Hermetic corpus and alchemy.
Yeah, so like right here we have the cave. I have an arrow up and an arrow down. As above, so below. And then the central. This was also shown in his previous video. There are three women, three priestesses uh that were led into a cave. It's literally the exact same thing.
I've just gotten tired of talking about psychedelic drugs and always saying the same things over and over again. Nevertheless, it's a challenge to go outside my own bailiwick. I mean, I've had an interest in Hermeticism and alchemy since I was about 14 and read Jung's Psychology and Alchemy. And it opened for me the fact of the existence of this vast literature, a literature that is very little read or understood in the modern context. The Jungians have made much of it, but to their own purposes, and perhaps not always with a complete fidelity to the intent of the tradition. will talk a lot about the Jungian approach, but there are other approaches, even within
Yeah, and see they have the little halo above their heads as well.
the 20th century. I believe, since I don't have the catalog, I'm not absolutely certain, but I believe the catalog urged you to read Giordano Bruno and the Hermetic Tradition by Dame Frances Yates. And this is, though Frances Yates' scholarship is very controversial, I think to get an overview of the human body.
Oh yeah, this is the rod of a the rod of a Acephalus. You'll see this on like on ambulances, and you'll see this symbol in like doctors and various places like that. Interesting. This symbol was the same that was in Jungian's. This exact symbol. Oh, you know what? I know where I saw this. I think this exact symbol. Where was it? Oh, no, not that one. No, no. Where is? Okay, so let's see. I think it was down here. Yeah, that's the exact same symbol. See, look, right there. Wait. Yeah, that's the exact same symbol. If I go back down here really quick, I can do like a comparison. Yeah, that's the same. Yeah, that's the same exact symbol. Crazy. And this is Sophia Gnosticism. So that's comparing Hermeticism and Gnosticism. Like I'm saying, like everything is like essentially the same. It's fascinating.
So that it is an image freely commanded in the imagination. Imagination. I think this is the first time I've used this word this evening. The imagination is central to the alchemical opus because it is literally
That's what Jung's was, his active imagination.
a process which goes on in the realm of the imagination, taken to be a physical dimension. And I think that we can
We also have the white dove here that's seen in many religions, but most people associate with Christianity.
not understand the history that lies ahead of us unless we think in terms of a journey into the imagination. We have exhausted the world of three-dimensional space. We are polluting it. We are overpopulating it. We are using it up. Somehow, the redemption of the human enterprise lies in the dimension of the imagination. And to do that, we have to transcend the categories that we inherit from 1,000 years of science and Christianity and rationalism. And we have to re-empower and re-encounter the mind. And we can do this psychedelically, we can do it yogically, or we can do it alchemically and hermetically. Now, there is present in the world at the moment, or at least I like to think so, an impulse which I have named the archaic revival. It's what happens is that whenever a society really gets in trouble, and you can use this in your own life, when you really get in trouble, what you should do is say, what did I believe in the last sane moment that I experienced? And then go back to that moment and act from it, even if you no longer believe it. Now, in the Renaissance, this happened. The uh, scholastic universe dissolved. New classes, new forms of wealth, new systems of navigation, new scientific tools made it impossible to maintain the fiction.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons like philosophy is so amazing is that you can combine it with psychology, any form of science. You can like a lot of people right now are combining philosophy with quantum mechanics, wave function theory or whatever. And like so if we look at like Oppenheimer or whatever his name was, um he wasn't actually that good at math. What he was good at was philosophy. And through philosophy he was able to make like the atom bomb or whatever. So it's like philosophy has so many different practical applications besides just psychology or this or that. It's amazing. Like philosophy makes learning fun. Like if you apply philosophy to anything you want to learn, it can make it that much easier to learn because if it's boring, you're not going to be that interested in it. It's not going to stick to you because it's proven that memories are tied to emotion. That's why like a lot of psychopaths, they since they don't feel emotion, their memory is different. Since they don't have emotion as an anchor point in their memory, they're it's different. But that's also why like the most like traumatic and like the most like, first time you have a kid or, whatever, like those memories are really solidified in your brain is because memories are tied to emotion. So if you can make like learning fun, then you're more likely to remember and you're able to get more like out of life from that knowledge.
Of the medieval cosmology. And there was a sense that the world was dissolving. Good alchemical word, dissolving. And in that moment, the movers and shakers of that civilization reached backwards in time to the last sane moment they had ever known, and they discovered that it was classical Greece. And they invented classicism in the 15th and 16th century. The texts which had lain in monasteries in Syria and Asia Minor, forgotten and untranslated for centuries, were brought to the Florentine Council by people like Gemistus Pletho and others, and translated, and classicism was born. Its laws, its philosophy.
Classicism. Is that what this is? It sounded like he was might have been saying something else. Neoclassicism. I thought maybe he was talking about classes, like different, like hierarchy, like different classes of society. Age of Enlightenment. Yeah, this is what he's talking about. Classical ideals than others, particularly the Age of Enlightenment when neoclassicism was an important movement in the visual arts. Yeah, that was a great period of time for art. Polytheism, paganism, and the juxtaposition of ancient and modern Renaissance, liberal arts. Yeah, a lot came out from that period. Interesting. Apollonian and Dionysian. That is a preference for rationality, or at least rationally guided catharsis over emotionalism. And this again goes right back into this. We're right back where we started in Jung's, and that is the battle of ego, of pleasure, of emotions over rationality. It's like everywhere.
Philosophy, its aesthetics, and we are the inheritors of that tradition. But it is now once again exhausted, and our cultural crisis is much greater. It is global, it is total, It involves every man, woman, and child on this planet. Every bug, bird, and tree is caught up in the cultural crisis that we have engendered. Our ideas are exhausted, the ideas that we inherit out of Christianity and its half brother science, or its bastard child science. So what I'm suggesting is that an archaic revival needs to take place, and it seems to be well in hand in the form of the revival of goddess worship and shamanism and partnership. But notice that these things are old, 10,000 years or more old. But there was an unbroken thread that, however thinly drawn, persists right up to the present. So the idea of this weekend is to show the way back to the high magic of the late Paleolithic, to show that there were intellectual traditions, there were minority points of view that.
Well, so again, like Vedic is the oldest. Um, like everyone kind of naturally goes towards like Western philosophy and tradition, but like again, it all comes from Vedic philosophy and tradition and religion. Like that's the oldest recorded religion ever, and philosophy is Vedic.
With its 7 spheres, and the gods visible in starry forms with all their constellations, and heaven revolved and began to run its circling course, riding upon the divine air. And each god, by his several power, set forth that which he was bidden to put forth. And there came forth 4-footed beasts, and creeping things, and fishes, and winged birds, and grass.
Psychology and Alchemy by Carl G. Jung.